Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
What's up?
Not much, man.
Good to see you.
Good to be back.
We had a full Texas day today, dude.
Yeah.
Full Texas.
Doesn't get more Texas than that.
Shotguns,
Yep.
ate barbecue, went to the Staccato Range. How sick is that place?
Man, dude, you should have, I remember when I first went there, I called it the ghetto because that's what we do, but there was nothing there.
Just dirt.
Just dirt, and they had some bays and stuff like that too. And we, me and my videographer, we did some shooting out there and we filmed, but it was nothing like it is now. Now
Yeah.
it looks like an entire little village.
They're dumping
of guns.
a ton of money to that place.
Dude.
Yeah.
When we were going around, he was showing us the whole property. I was I don't know if you saw my face. I was like, what the fuck?
I know. There's a lot. It must be a lot of money in selling really good guns.
Yeah, to say the least. Because
Like the lake? Like you guys have a lake? Why'd you build a lake? It's like, we're going to have a lake.
I'm not gonna lie. There's something about water. If I ever bought property, if I just get over this whole I have to be in the city shit, I buy property, I'd want some body of water. It's
Explain to
tranquil.
me the I have to be in the city.
I'm just a city rat. I
You
like
just always like it.
just the buzz and the energy of the city is something that it's in me. So it's like I can still every year, I'll go out to Utah and go and do all of the, eat, love, pray shit. And then
But you just have to be back in the city.
I got to come back to the streets. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I like staying in cities.
Yeah.
When I stay in New York City, I'm there for a weekend. But by the time Sunday rolls around, I'm like,
Yeah,
all
right.
right, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I've never liked it. Even when I lived in New York, I didn't live in the city. I lived in
Really?
the suburbs.
Ah.
But that was because I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford an apartment
Gotcha.
that had parking. It's parking in New York City.
Oh yeah,
It's
you're right.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And I have to do the road. I travel a lot to do stand-up. I have to be able to drive to gigs. So I was driving to Connecticut, New Jersey, and just to get a parking spot, I forget how much it cost back then. This is the 90s, but it was out of my budget.
I'm honestly I love cities. So anytime I go to a city, if I travel to a state I've never been to before, I always want to stay in the city and I always go to their downtowns. New York is one of the places that I genuinely do not like.
Really?
No, I don't know what it is. I genuinely did not like it, which is weird because I like big cities. But for something about New York, I was just kind of meh.
Really?
I don't, dude.
That doesn't make any sense because it's the
I know.
most city.
I
But
wish
it
I
was
could articulate
just a
it.
feeling
Yeah.
is not interesting.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even during a weird time. I didn't go during COVID or anything like that. It was pretty normal time.
During COVID, they made some weird law in New York City where you're allowed to eat outside. So they built indoor places outside. So they basically built these there were little trailers that they set up outside, and they put dining tables in and nice lighting and shit.
Seen this one?
Yeah, New York City drivers will have to pay $15 to ride through Manhattan. Yeah,
I did not know that.
you have to pay money to drive through the city. Well, first of
this
all,
is new.
Yeah.
Oh.
they're out of money.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when you make stupid policy decisions.
Yeah, you make terrible policy decisions, and you say that you're a sanctuary city, and then Texas goes, okay, great. And they just fucking... It's kind of a gangster move by Abbott.
I mean...
It's pretty gangster. If you're dealing with the border, and the border is where you are, and everyone's like, we are a sanctuary. Oh, are you?
Yeah, right.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I got an idea. What is going on? Have you been paying attention to this standoff between Texas and the Biden administration in terms of the border? Texas has put up barbed wire, and the Biden administration wants the barbed wire taken down.
I'll be honest and tell you I haven't been following it super close, which is odd because I'm Texas born and raised. And the weird thing is living in Dallas, you're almost still kind of disconnected from what's going on at the border a little bit because you're so far north.
Right.
But even in Houston, because I'm in Houston a lot too, it's not something that you're confronted with daily. But anybody from Texas usually at some point in time,
What was that?
Checking a video.
at some point in time, you're gonna go towards the border, and,
Yeah.
and you're gonna see it for yourself. But what I do know of it, at this point, we're trying not to lose control of it. Essentially, from what I can gather,
What is happening?
I don't know.
Whose idea is it?
In terms of what?
Who's letting this happen? It seems very organized. These people know the border's open, so they know they could just walk through.
I think I think there's a lot of virtue signaling, I think, involved in all of the whole, like you talking about with New York saying, we're a sanctuary city. Just, yes, we accept everyone to come in, just not our state in our city. Right. And so I think you have that combined with the reality of what happens when you have a border that honestly is not being checked. Right. So if you have a situation where you have people who are able to just come in and leave as I wouldn't necessarily say leave, but coming into a state, and it's a choke point because a lot of it is coming in through Texas. So it's easy to have that philosophy of leave the border, don't make the border, get rid of the barbed wire, et cetera, because we want to seem as if we are welcoming to everyone. And I don't think it's a matter of not wanting to be welcoming. I think it has a lot to do with the same reason why you have a front door with locks on it on your house. Yeah. Right? At least have a checkpoint to say, okay, well, if you want to come in, I need to know who I'm dealing with.
Well, do you see they had this one guy that was on video that he said, you will see who I am soon. And then they found out he's on like some terrorist watch list or something like that.
Yeah.
Terrific.
But that doesn't surprise me, though.
Well, it doesn't surprise me either, but it seems too convenient that it's happening with the numbers that it's happening at. It seems organized. And I would like to know, how is it getting to those people? Is anyone supplying them with resources? Is anyone telling them how to do it? Is this organized?
I think it is. Do I have any proof or data to back it up? No, it's a hunch.
Yeah.
Just because it just doesn't really make sense. I don't think anybody who's honestly being honest with themselves, you're not going to be someone who says, you know what, I just want an open border where any and everyone can come in at will without anybody checking who's actually coming into the country.
No, it's insane.
It makes no sense.
It's insane. It's not the case if you fly in, which is nuts. So if you're coming from some country and if you want to emigrate to the United States, it's hard.
Yeah.
You have to prove that you have some sort of exceptional skill.
Yep.
There's some reason for you to be here. You get a work visa.
Yep.
You have to apply for citizenship.
I mean, let's just keep it real. There are a lot of people who just don't like this country.
Yeah.
And they would love to get into the country and cause damage to the country any way they can.
Yes.
So I think for anyone to say that they are for open borders,
at least there's got to be a percentage of the people that are coming across that we don't want here. There has to be.
I mean, that's just reality.
Just reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as much as you want to be a kind person, look, I am the grandchild of immigrants. None of my family came from America. They all came from Italy and Ireland. They all came over here.
My parents are immigrants.
Yeah. So it's we're not anti-immigration. But it just seems like, God damn, you got to make sure you're not letting terrorists in. It seems so simple.
Yeah. But like I said, I think a lot of it has to do. I think there's some grandstanding and there's some virtue signaling going on as well. I think the administration honestly is trying to walk that line of no, we're so progressive, and while at the same time honestly trying to stick it to Texas.
Yeah,
I think. I mean, it's a dick swinging competition at this point.
Why would you have a dick swinging competition about the border? That seems so insane that you would want people to take down a barrier to entry.
You know what I think?
What?
I think it has a lot to do with Trump because when he was running his campaign, he was running a lot of it based on the idea he was going to build that wall and border.
Yeah,
and so that became a separation point for a lot of people in the country with respect to what side they fell on. And I think there's a particular party in this country that utilized it as a lightning rod to create that level of division. And so I think they're kind of trying to reestablish that again.
Which is one of the things that's even more gangster about Abbott sending people to Chicago, sending people to New York. Because in Chicago, they're like, get these fucking people out of here. Right? And then the people that live in Chicago, the poor people of Chicago, this is bullshit. Yeah. These people are getting money. They're getting all this help. They're getting food. They're getting all this stuff that we don't have.
Well, but yeah, people literally in the place who live there
their whole lives, and then all of a sudden these people sneak in and they're getting this special treatment.
I think there's also a level of trying to pass the buck a little bit, or kind of a mass distraction, because when you look at these major cities and you see the conditions that a lot of these people are living in our own country, right? You start to ask yourself, okay, well, why are these conditions? Why do they exist, right? And they're a very particularized area in very particular places within this country. So it begs the question. It's like, why can't we fix this issue,
Right.
Right? Like they're talking about how we want to help these people. They want to come into the country because they're running away from a shitty life and in terrible environments. I mean, you mean the ones that are synonymous to the ones that we actually have in the country as well, but yet we haven't been able to address that issue.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But I think it's a way to kind of push that to the side and sweep it under the rug and say, no, it's a sexier problem to have when we're trying to deal with people coming from other countries.
Right.
And we want to help them because we're so noble and so brave. But I'm like, you haven't even taken care of what's going on in your own home.
And part of the reason why the place they are at sucks, well, the reason why they come over here is because of what we're doing to those countries.
Then there's that.
Yeah, there's part of that too. I mean, it's part of like when we shipped all those fucking jobs overseas and these people are making pennies on the dollar to make goods that we can buy here slightly cheaper.
Yeah.
And then we destroyed unions and destroyed American manufacturing. And
I'm not going to go so far as to say a little bit of that is our fault as well as consumers, because when you do try to make stuff in America, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so and a lot of people aren't willing to pay that price hike in order to have stuff produced in America. So companies become incentivized to then go and have these things created elsewhere, because I've seen companies where they struggle because they're trying to make everything in America,
Right.
but that comes with a price that a lot of people aren't willing to pay.
Right.
And so I wonder how much, it's kind of like with climate change. It's like how much of that is affecting a lot of the manufacturing and so forth going overseas.
Some of it is, but there's enough people that want to buy American-made products from people that get paid a fair wage that if you advertise that and make that a
lot of people say they do.
Well, a lot of people do. Look at Origin.
Yeah.
Origin can't keep clothes on the shelves. Everything's flying off their boots, their clothes, their hunting gear. They can barely keep them in stock. Everybody wants it because it's 100% American.
You think that's the only reason why?
What do you think it is?
I don't know. I'm not familiar. I'm not that familiar with Origin, honestly.
Well, Origin is my friend Jocko's company, and I'm a part of it. And I know that what they're doing is very popular.
Gotcha.
And it's very popular because that's part of their mission statement. Bring back American manufacturing. Take pride in the fact that these things that you're wearing, these things that you purchase, these things you use every day is 100% American made. Everything, down to the buttons, the threads, everything put together, all the cloth, everything's sourced from America. 100%. 100%.
That's actually pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, pretty damn impressive. The only thing they don't have from America, there's a part of a boot that you can only get in South America.
Gotcha.
So even that's America. It's just South America, but not United States. But that's one piece, and they eventually are planning on figuring out a way to manufacture that.
Is that where the name comes from, Origin?
I don't know.
It fits.
It does fit. Yeah, it does fit. Yeah. I don't know the origin of the name. but I feel like if you had an American-made cell phone, I've been saying this forever.
Yeah.
Give me a fucking iPhone that's made by people that aren't working for slave wages. Give me an iPhone that's not made in a factory where people have nets around the building to keep people from jumping off the roofs because they hate their lives.
Yeah.
Give me a phone that is not that you didn't get sourced the materials by slave labor in the Congo. Can you fucking do that? Is it possible to do that? Because if it is, how much more is it? Is it $300 more? I'll pay $300 more for a phone that I know I don't have to feel like shit about.
I begs the question, though. You and I would do it.
I think enough people would.
But I have the monetary ability to do it. I wonder.
Yes.
I wonder how much of, the people who aren't necessarily in the economic position to pay, like to them, that's considerable markup, right?
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that. I don't know. I wonder how much of that plays into a part of facilitating this kind of shipping our manufacturing and everything overseas because they can build things cheaper and then people continue to buy it. So maybe I take a step back and I say, all right, maybe it's not just they say they want American but aren't willing to pay for it. Maybe a large part of people just can't. I don't know.
A large percentage of people probably can't. The people that are living check to check can't. But there's enough people that are not living check to check that would feel better about buying something. And maybe instead of buying an iPhone every year or a cell phone every year, buy one every other year, or every 2 years, or every 3 years. Like it's feasible. It makes
very
sense.
feasible. Now, granted, I'm guilty.
I got a fucking iPhone 11. I keep one of my phones is an iPhone 11. The motherfucker works perfect.
Yeah, I'm literally the person you're talking about. I upgrade my phone on the day the new one comes out to the minute.
I got a 15. I have no reason to have this fucking phone.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
Now, granted, I live and die by these phones do everything for me now.
Yeah, me too.
I have reached a point now where I'm kind of like, I don't want to upgrade, but for no other reason than I don't want to have to go through the like update process, like changing, like the changeover process is really annoying.
It is weird. And sometimes like phone numbers get all fucked up.
Yeah.
Something happened where phone numbers got attached in iMessage to old emails of
Yes.
other people.
Yeah, I've had some really spooky stuff happen on my phones, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Like,
Yeah.
I had a friend tell me, he's like, I called you and somebody else picked up.
Yeah, I had that happen to a friend too.
Okay, yeah.
I go,
was
dude, is
like,
this your phone number?
yeah.
He goes, yeah. I go, bro, a woman answered the phone.
That's exactly what happened to me. Yeah,
What's that?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, we are talking about devices, right, that are essentially supercomputers in our hands.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just the fault of the system that just, it's bound to happen where you get this kind of cross communication and it just can't keep up with it. I forgot who the comedian was. He was talking about how impatient we are these days because it was one of my favorite bits because it's so true. He's like, we get these cell phones and then the moment it stops working a little bit, we get pissed off and it's like it's sending message to fucking space.
Oh, that's Louis C.K.
Louis C.K.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, that's a very poignant point.
It's a very good point. And yeah, I mean, it's easy to get annoyed at technology when it doesn't suit your needs, but it's just,
You connect. Sorry.
the TRX.
Yeah.
My TRX has this system. I love the truck. It's awesome, but
amazing.
that system is whack. You have one too, right?
Yeah,
The Uconnect is whack.
I did a whole video on Instagram about it. It's the worst infotainment system I've ever experienced in a vehicle.
It sometimes just doesn't connect to CarPlay.
It's possessed.
Yeah.
I've literally driven 15 minutes and it has connected and disconnected
Oh, yeah.
5 times.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, this is. And then I step on the gas and I hear that whine.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then I don't
You
give a
forget
fuck.
it, right? Yeah. It's mine's at Hennessy right now.
Yeah.
They've replacing the screen or something. Something is wrong with the screen. It just shut off.
I want to take mine to Hennessy. I haven't done it yet. Yeah,
It's addictive.
I want to get the unnecessary 1,000 horsepower.
1,000 horsepower pickup truck is true. But the one that comes out of the factory is 700.
Yeah,
I'm like,
no,
what is wrong with
no,
me?
it's not. It's not. But I mean, America, right?
America.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're making, you know how the Dodge Demon is 1,000 horsepower, the new one? They're making a 1,700 horsepower Dodge Demon.
They're making that. I thought it was going to be the last one.
No, Hennessy is.
Oh, Hennessy.
So
Oh,
Hennessy
but that's
take-
Hennessy. Hennessy does shit like
He's a
that.
psycho. What a psycho.
love it,
Imagine
though.
getting a 1,000 horsepower 2-door car and go,
Man, it needs more power. But it's amazing how accustomed you get to speed.
yeah.
Like you can get it probably takes all in all with consistent driving, I'd say about 3 weeks before you're like, I can use some more power. Like,
That's the problem with Teslas.
yeah.
That's the problem with Teslas. I know you like engines, you like the sound, but if you go from that fucking car, go from the Plaid, the 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds, silently, like a fucking time traveling machine.
I think I feel disconnect. I think it would freak me out a little bit because it just without the sound and the noise, it's kind of like the
Have you
sensorial.
driven it? Have you tried it?
I've driven a Tesla. It was not a Plaid, but I've driven one of the earlier model Teslas. There are aspects to it. Like I'm not anti-electric. I'm just anti-get rid of ICE engines in order to bring in electric.
Right.
That's my issue. I want a choice.
Well, Toyota's not going that way. It's really interesting because they get a lot of pushback because of that. Toyota is embracing hybrids. They're like, this doesn't make any sense. Like,
Yeah.
You want range,
Yeah.
and with hybrids, you get all the range of a regular vehicle, but you get a lot of fuel economy, so you get more range, and then you get also the option of extra power. And that's one of the things that Honda did with their last NSX, which was one of the most underappreciated supercars that's ever existed. That fucking last NSX was a monster.
I, to the life of me, cannot understand why it didn't do well.
Because it's an Acura.
Yeah, but everybody wets their pants over the older NSX.
Yeah, but only car dorks like us.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the average person does not wet their pants over an old NSX.
That's
They're like,
true.
what is this fucking old Honda?
We're so brand identifying.
Oh,
It's
people are so
ridiculous.
brand on. Like if you pull up in your Lamborghini, right, that sick Lamborghini that you have, that thing is like, god damn. If you're gonna spend that kind of money, that's the response you want.
But it's
You
still
pull
just
up.
an Audi.
It is an Audi, yeah. Yeah, it is an Audi, kind of. But that makes it better because now it's actually reliable.
Which is true. I think one of the best marriages between car manufacturers was Audi and Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Because everybody knew Lamborghinis were this unreliable but fantastically fun, beautiful pieces of shits, right?
Right.
And then you get the German engineering of Audi, and then you combine that with the flair and the pomp and circumstance that you get with the Italians, and it's just a beautiful marriage.
It's just Lamborghini is like 10% too much douche.
I know
It's
that's why
I
literally decided to get one just for that. I bullshit. It was something I said. I had some investments go well, and I was like, you know what?
Let's go.
Fuck it.
Let's swing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
look at that.
NSX.
Look at that NSX. I mean, that is a fucking amazing car.
It is, but I also think they took too many parts because inherently I think the silhouette is gorgeous, right? But I still think there's a lot of it that screams Acura. I know this sounds counterintuitive because it is one, but
I know what you're saying. Like, it's not quite exotic enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At least for the price point. If they brought it and came in at a price point sub 100, they wouldn't have been able to keep them.
They're still selling the R8. That's a fucking monster car too. That's also a car that's not appreciated enough.
I am a little kind of indifferent about the R8.
Really?
Yeah, I drove one once, and I couldn't help but feel like. Now, keep in mind, in all fairness, it was the early, first generation R8.
Oh, okay.
I haven't driven any of the newer generations.
My friend Everlast had one of the earlier ones. It was pretty dope. But that was back when it was new. Is this the newest one?
This is the one I'm on is a 23.
God damn, that thing's sick. What is that? That's the next one?
Oh, yeah.
It'll be fully electric.
It's after the R8. Next supercar.
I don't know about this whole fully electric shit. Now, you know what? I'm full of shit. Because there is one car I drove that I was like, I actually want this.
What's that?
The Taycan.
Oh, yeah.
Taycan, I was like, okay, all right.
That's amazing.
That I can, because it was still lacking on the sound aspect. However, what it did do, it still gave me all of the driving dynamics that you were used to with Porsche.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
And the interior.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
The driving dynamics I've driven one. It's amazing.
Amazing. Like, I literally, my blood pressure just dropped the moment I got in the car.
Look at that thing. I mean, they just know how to do interiors. They know how to do ergonomics.
Yep. Without being overboard.
And you can also get the Jetson sound. Do you know what is the Mission E? Is that the 2-door one? Oh, shit.
Oh.
That looks like a 4-door to me.
Wait, or was that? Maybe that was
think
the
they're coming up
concept.
with a 2-door.
Or was that the concept for the original Taycan?
I believe they're coming out with a 2-door Taycan.
Mission 4, okay.
But the sound, you can get Jetson sounds. So when you hit the gas, the one I was in is like...
I don't like that.
Yeah, you say that until you drive it. It sounds awesome.
I like my cars to sound like they're farting everywhere they go.
Look at that. Electric Sport sound off. Yeah, so it just takes off silently and then sound on. Come on, man. That
Okay,
sounds
all right,
amazing.
All right. It wasn't. See, the sound you made and then that sound
Right.
are two different things.
Right. That's my fault. Come on, that sounds insane. That sounds like you're in a goddamn spaceship. It's a different kind of sound. But even like the Porsche Turbo doesn't have the best sound.
It doesn't, because I daily drive one, and I love it.
It's so crazy fast.
I got rid of the GT3 to get it, which is sacrilegious.
The difference in sound.
Yeah, because the way that GT3 wails, it's awe-inspiring.
Yeah, it is. It's part of the fun.
But the turbo, but nothing can be. I think, and I'm going to do a video on this when I start my second YouTube channel. I think the Porsche Turbo S is the greatest daily driving supercar on the planet ever created.
And they have that marriage with Volkswagen.
Yes,
which is also kind of similar.
Yeah.
But
Porsche's
have always been
they've always been Porsche. They've
always been reliable.
Yeah.
In terms of like supercars, they're like the most reliable.
Most
far.
boring supercars, but the greatest.
Well, not the GT3 or the GT3
Okay, I'm not
RS.
factoring in those.
Yeah.
Those I look at those as more like track weapons.
Yeah, but they're still willing to make a 6-speed GT3, and then the ST, which is the new one that's 6-speed as well.
I like the Sports Classic.
Yeah,
Sports
that's
Classic,
nice too.
Yeah, with the 6-speed with the ducktail.
Yeah, they're still willing to make some driver-centric cars, and there's a giant market for them. Like that GT3 Touring, they can't keep that in stock.
Yeah, Even though I think the GT3 Touring is kind of maybe because I like the wing of the original GT3. So the last thing I want is one without the wing. I'm like, if I'm going to do it without the wing, just give me a turbo.
Spoken like a true Lamborghini driver.
I mean, pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, there's a bunch of cars that just don't get their deserve what they deserve. You know.
Yeah, I mean,
I went down a
I still
rabbit
want
hole
a
last
Hellcat.
night. Well, Hellcat's amazing. I went down a rabbit hole last night with the Lexus LC 500.
See, you say that, I hear LFA.
LFA is amazing.
Yeah.
But there's people that are doing wild shit with the LC 500 where they're putting wide body kits on them and straight pipes, and they sound insane.
Well, I think that's because of the LFA. Because I think once the LFA didn't do as well as they expected it to do.
Yeah.
Because again, I think they just overpriced it because the market just wasn't ready for a fucking, what was it, like $200,000?
More. I think it was
like three.
more.
Well, now it is.
Yeah.
Because now it's like.
But I think
collectible.
even out of the box, I think it was 3.
Oh, it was like 3.
Yeah.
See, and that for Lexus, that's still pushing it. Like
That's the thing. It's a label thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like if you want to pull up in a $300,000 car, it's going to be a Ferrari.
exactly.
Because
It's how
then
they
people
it's how they
like,
got away
ooh.
with selling the Urus
Yeah. Look at
or
that.
the Urus.
Look at that motherfucker.
Okay, that almost looks like an 812.
Look at that fucking thing. That's with the
that
wide
thing's-
body kit on it.
yeah,
That's
that is-
amazing.
That is pretty badass. not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
but you can only get that up to like 550 horsepower with a lot of modification.
Are they turbo?
No, it's a V8, but it
it's a-
sounds incredible.
Naturally aspirated?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it sounds incredible. And the
didn't know they were
interior,
naturally
the
aspirated.
interior is insane.
Lexus has always done interior.
See if you can find a video of one with a wide body because there's some awesome videos of them. Because there's a lot of people doing these now. Because they've been out for like 6-7 years now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people doing wide body
I'm not gonna
kits
lie,
with them.
That's kind of a nasty setup.
That's a nasty looking car, man. Ew. But with the wide body setup, you're getting a wider stance, you're getting
Yeah.
wider fat tires.
Not a fan of the wing.
The wings,
Wings
it's
work
polarizing.
I think wings are 50-50. They either work or they don't.
I think it looks great on black cars.
Yes.
I think if you get it on the white car, it looks a little sus.
Yeah, it's a little too disjointed.
But I
Like,
saw one that was matte black with a wing, and it
Mm-hmm.
looked fucking insane with the wide body kit. And then he had it set up with a remote control for the pipes, so you could have it even more silent than stock. You could have it like it is stock, or you could have straight pipes. Yeah.
I've never done aftermarket exhaust on any car I've ever owned.
Really?
No. I never get to it because all that happens. Like, I'm a car horse, so
So you swap them out?
yeah. So by the time, but the thing is, I do a bunch of other stuff, right? Like, I'll tune them, I'll wrap them, I'll put all types of security features, I'll put that, all that crap, radar detectors, blockers, all that nonsense. But then when it's time to get ready to do the aftermarket exhaust,
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, what's that?
There's
Like,
some California fucking politician that was just trying to pass a bill to make it so you can't go more than 10 miles an hour over the speed limit in a car.
yeah, he should be fired.
He's also one of the same guys that was a part of. There was this very controversial LBG. This guy. Is this it? California bill calls for tech to make new cars unable to speed. Now, who is the guy? Who is the guy who's at the head of it? Yes, Wiener.
He would be called that.
But this guy is also the same guy that was pushing for some very controversial law about so there's a difference between what they're trying to. Yeah, Scott Wiener. He's kind of a freak. Scott Wiener's kind of a freak. Like there's pictures of him with like a dog collar on.
The name is
at
so
the,
funny.
at a gay pride
I know
parade.
who you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, that guy.
So that guy was also part of some that's him.
He looks like a
Look at
skinnier
that.
version of Jerry from
Yeah.
Subway.
So he's got like a leather vest on with a tie with no shirt at the gay pride parade, which is have a good time.
I mean, do you?
Who
but yeah,
cares?
but-
Have a good time.
But you're pushing it with this over 10.
But he was a part of some there was a very controversial bill that people were trying to misinterpret, but it was about age of consent.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying that age of consent, that there was some part about the way the law was structured that was discriminating against LBGT people.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, "What are you trying to say?"
Yeah.
So,
Now-
apparently, there's some discretion with age gaps when it comes to heterosexual couples. So, like, say if like a girl is 16 in California, she'd be underage, and a boy's 18. Well, what if they start dating when the boy was 17, the girl was 15, and then the guy turns 18? It's technically illegal. So
Yeah.
if they go to a judge, like a judge could say, listen, this is not a pedophile, this is a young couple. But if the guy's 40 and the girl's 16, now you got a real problem.
So that's interesting you say that, because I got into kind of a little bit of shit in my law school class when I was in law school one time when we were talking about statutory rape. So statutory rape is a strict liability crime, basically. There's no excuse for it. She can have a fake ID. She can look 30 years old, give you all the signals that she's of age. And if she's underage, you're fucked.
Right.
Regardless, right?
Right, even if they lie.
Yeah. And I didn't think that was fair, personally. And there are very few people in my law school class who agreed with me with respect to that. I understand I understand the reasoning behind it, but I mean, at that point, that person's life is done. Especially considering and I've known of girls and women who have gone to great lengths to mask their age and to be deceptive about it and lie about it to people. And then if somebody succumbs to that, now not only do they go to jail, now they're a sex offender. For the rest of their lives, right?
Well, to your point, I have a friend and his sister's friends. They're in California.
Mm-hmm.
His sister's friends are 15, and he's got this giant issue because the 15-year-old friends are using fake IDs and going to L.A. clubs.
Yeah.
They're fucking sophomores in high school, and they're getting into L.A. clubs with fake IDs.
And you wouldn't be able to tell just by
You
looking at
cannot tell when they've hit puberty and they're wearing makeup and they're wearing sexy clothes and they're going out. Sorry to say sexy about a 15. You know what I'm saying?
From a
Provocative
stereotypical
clothing.
aspect
Yes.
of understanding what sexy clothes look like. Yeah,
Like that. And if you're a guy and you don't know any better, that's crazy.
Yeah, and we're not even talking like they're 15 and they look 17.
Right.
They look like 25.
Yeah.
And it's so
you can be very deceptive as a young person if you're properly dressed and if you have good genetics.
Yes.
You know?
At the same time, I still understand the basis behind the strict liability aspect of the law as well, because it's like you want to go above and beyond to protect the youth.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So at the time, I guess I didn't articulate it the right way.
Yeah.
All I was saying was like, that doesn't seem fair. I understand it. Still does. I wish that like there needs to be some type of discernment given with respect to the context, the entire context of the situation.
Well, there's some wild, unfair laws in California, and one of them has to do with whether or not you are the father of a child. So I know a guy, and he unfortunately had a good friend who fucked his wife. And he did not know this was happening. And this good friend got his wife pregnant, and he raised that kid as his daughter. And he didn't know until after his friend was dead. His friend died.
Yep.
And then after his friend was dead, he was stuck paying child support until that kid was 18, no matter what. Even though he got a paternity test, he was like, something's going on.
Yeah.
Got a paternity test, found out it was his friend's kid. Devastating, right? Your friend's dead. He was your best friend. Now he's dead, and you're raising his fucking kid, and you have to pay for it. So he tried to appeal. Nope, fuck you. You have to pay.
Welcome
But
to California.
listen, but part of me is also like, listen, you don't have to be a biological father to love a child. And I have a stepdaughter. I love her like my daughter. If I was in that situation, I would want to still pay for that girl. I wouldn't want to give any fucking money to that woman, though.
Yeah.
So if you have to give that woman money and then she distributes it, like that's where it gets weird. Like because it's up to their discretion. When you pay child support,
it goes straight to them.
it goes to the mom.
Yeah.
The mom can buy shoes. She can go buy a purse. She doesn't have to do anything with the kid. Like, especially if she has a job already.
Yeah.
So the idea is you're compensating her for the fact that you have a child together, but it's up to her discretion.
If we're just going to be honest, like child support, by and large, it's a business relationship between the mother, most times between the mother and the state, because it's not like the child support office doesn't take a portion of the money that's being paid.
Right.
Right. So they're incentivized to have as many people on child support as possible, regardless of the context and the situation. So the state is not your friend in that respect. So understanding that, it just blows my mind that you can have a situation like that where he doesn't even have a choice in the matter.
Right.
Right. Because there'll be a good number of men who would say, you know what, I don't like it. I'm done fucking with you.
Right.
as far as the mother, but you know, I still want to do what I can to help
Yes.
with the child. But when you put him in a position where he doesn't even have a choice in the matter,
Well, the dude that we're talking about was struggling too. My man was struggling. He was not, and he's gone too now, so I can talk about this. But he was struggling. He was not doing well,
Yeah.
and he had a monthly nut that he was obligated to pay, and he tried to, you know, his career was in the shitter. It wasn't going well, and he had monthly, and he could get jailed.
Easy. Like it's
Everything's crazy about it. It was his friend. Everything's awful about
I'm
it.
laughing to avoid getting pissed.
I'll tell you who it is afterwards.
Okay.
Because it's going to blow your mind. But remind me.
Okay.
But the whole story behind it is so sad because the guy loved his friend, and then after the friend's dead, he finds out the friend fucked his wife and got her pregnant, and then he was raising that kid as his own. So much of it is awful.
Yeah, and then nothing. I think. I don't know. I think if that's the. I think the woman should be forced to pay alimony to the husband.
Well,
in that situation.
I don't know.
I
don't know about alimony, but I just don't.
I just think there should be some level of punishment as a result of it. If you're going to force him to pay child, now it's probably end up canceling itself out, right? Because it's kind of backwards. It's just me wanting some type of retribution for him,
Right?
Because it's like she just gets away with this scot free. Mm-hmm. Like there's nothing. Like it's. So,
she didn't just get away with it; she enforced it. She went to court for it after the fact.
Like
after the fact, she went to court and won.
Come on.
I know it's so awful. And meanwhile, this guy is living with the heartbreak of his friend's betrayal, his friend's death first, then his friend's betrayal, and then his wife's betrayal, and then the financial obligation that he has that he can't afford. It gets even worse in Canada. Dave Foley was my friend from News Radio. When he was married, his wife and him got divorced when he was at the peak of his career.
Yeah.
So he's making the most money he's ever going to make. He's on a sitcom. It's his sitcom. He's doing really well. And he had a certain amount that he had to pay. And in Canada, when his income drops substantially, because, you know, you just can't have a fucking sitcom all the time.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, you get one your whole life.
Yeah.
The judge said to him, your ability to pay has no relationship to your obligation to pay. So this exorbitant amount of money that he was paying, because at one point in time he was doing really well, that is how much you have to figure out how to make forever.
Or what?
Or you go to jail.
You see how
he couldn't go to Canada.
How stupid that is?
It's crazy.
It's dumb. So if the point of God, I'm blanking out here. If the point of child support is so that the child is supposed to be in the best interest of the child and making sure that the child is provided for.
Yes.
Why would you then create the very circumstance that would inevitably end up ripping the father away, not only just the father, but then also the money that could be going to the child, whether or not it's the actual amount you established beforehand or not.
Right.
Just lower the damn payments. If you have justification for determining, you know what, he can't make these payments anymore, let's lower it to a payment he can make while still allowing the father to be in a child's life and have some type of money going in. Do that shit.
Yeah.
Like just arbitrary idea that, no, we set $1 million for you to pay every month to this child. You can't pay for it. We're going to throw you in jail because it's in the best interest of the child. Don't get me started on this, Joe. Don't get me started on this, Joe.
It's like there's a lot of aspects of the law that were written in good faith. That, like, child support is one of them.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a father, fuck yeah, you should pay for your kids, 100%. But then when you get into situations like that, wait a minute, how much? $100,000 a month?
You don't need that to
whatever
raise a
it
child.
is. Like, that's crazy.
You don't need that to
Well,
raise a
that's the weird thing about alimony as well. You have to maintain the lifestyle. So, like, someone becomes accustomed to a lifestyle. Like, say if you're married to Bill Gates. If you get divorced from Bill, say if you're only married to Bill for a year or two. If you get divorced, like, you're entitled to a large sum of money unless there's some sort of prenuptial agreement, which I'm sure there is. But if there's not, you're accustomed to a lifestyle. She's used to caviar and private jets.
Now you know why I live in Texas, brother. It's a man state.
Well, it's a great state in a lot of ways. And I was having the conversation with Ari today where I was trying to convince Ari to move here when we were at the range with him. But
wait, hold on. Was it really Ari's first time ever shooting?
I don't know if he shot guns before. I don't know.
Because I think I remember him saying that.
It seemed like it was his first day at first.
And then you're fucked up, dude. If that's his first time shooting and the first time he shoots is with staccatos, you're fucked up.
Oh yeah, I know,
You're
right?
fucked up, bro.
You're so spoiled. You're so spoiled. That is the smoothest shooting gun that's ever existed. If that's what you have,
That's all
yeah,
I've ever shot.
that's true.
See,
Yeah, Jamie's ruined.
You know,
Yeah, Jamie has a staccato. You have a
really?
CS,
I
right?
didn't get it yet.
Oh, you didn't get it
Never
yet?
got one.
What are
no.
you doing, Jamie?
Oh, Jesus
you gotta
Christ.
Get on it. You got to get on it.
I
man.
thought you got one.
No, we were gonna, but
Okay, listen.
What are you carrying?
remedy it
What are you
today.
carrying? Your little fanny pack.
CS.
You carrying CS?
Yeah.
See, I carry CS. I'm carrying CS right now.
CS is nice.
Yeah.
So
And
small and so light, and
I-
it's amazing.
it shoots so much bigger than what it
yeah.
actually is.
So flat.
Yeah.
And the recoil is so non-existent. It's so smooth in the hand.
I love that damn
They're
gun.
good. When we went to the factory today, so we should tell everybody, we went to the Staccato factory and we toured it for an hour. And I didn't even know we were going to tour the factory. I thought we were just going to go to the range. But
Yeah.
they wanted to they're so proud of their manufacturing process
Yeah.
that they wanted to show it to
Yeah.
us. It's amazing
See,
how
I-
much effort is into each gun and how much engineering.
The enthusiasm they had for you today is the same enthusiasm when they were in that little tiny spot. Because I did the tour when they were at the older building.
I did too.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I
And
basically
so
saw the
it's-
same thing
yeah,
twice.
Yeah.
But now I see the big version of it. And
Yeah,
it's pretty fucking amazing.
It is.
It's
It is.
amazing.
I really genuinely love staccatos.
Yeah.
Inherently.
Well, I love engineering. I love when someone just does something to the best they can do it. When they're explaining that it's 24 hours of work just to port one piece, just to and that they're literally down to the tolerance is 1/3 of the width of a human hair.
Crazy.
That's their tolerance. Anything more than that, they throw it away.
That's crazy.
It's wild.
My brain can't even really fathom that shit.
And when you see all the computer-controlled machinery and all this shit, yeah, this is the manufacturer. This is the old one. That's the.
That's the is it?
Is it?
Yeah, that's the old shop.
I think it's the old shop.
Yeah,
What
that's
year
the
is
old
this?
shop.
What year is this video from?
Go
Oh.
pull my video up. I did a video on it. Yeah.
I think the video. I think
Put Colion
that-
Noir GT3 staccato. It should.
okay.
Oh
so
no. Go back. No, type GT3. Because what
This-
I did is I drove from Dallas to Georgetown.
The XC.
There we go.
Well, you were
Yeah.
just saying the XT's your favorite. That's my favorite too. The XC's insane. It's so good. So that's when you went to. That's when it was.
Yeah,
Just
that's just
that
the
was
little-
the beginning of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's when they. Yeah, because we drove down there with Dallas Porsche Park Place, and
Yeah. So this is the new
see,
place.
yeah. No, that's the old place.
Oh, that's the old
That's the old
place.
place. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like looks
Yeah, 'cause I
exactly
did
like the
this
new
one-
place
I
too.
can't remember when I did this
Okay.
video. It was like 2.5 years ago. A year ago? Okay. Yeah. But yeah, no, I love the XC. I was when it came out, I think I was one of the first people to do a video on it. I went to that's when I went and shot at their facility when it was still a ghetto. And I remember I was like, thank God for this, because I love for me, when I carry a firearm, comfort and shootability are major. Major. And I'm not saying other guns I can't shoot. I can shoot them well. But these 2011s just does such a great job of bringing out the best shooter in you, right? Because people like to say that
is.
a gun, a high speed, a high expensive gun can't make you shoot better. I disagree.
Yeah, it's not true.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
whatever your skill level is with a non-2011, I think a 2011 will raise it in terms of shootability because they're so easy to shoot. I call them cheat codes.
Yeah, and with a red dot.
Exactly. You throw red
Yeah.
dot on there and it's just game over.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we're shooting those plates. It's just ding, ding, ding,
exactly.
ding, ding.
So now think about a self-defense
Yeah.
situation. Think
Yeah.
about how revved up you're going to be. Your adrenaline's dumping.
Exactly.
The last thing you need to be worried about are your shooting fundamentals.
Right.
You just want to feel comfortable and know I can do that with this gun to protect myself.
Yes.
And that's it, and call it a day.
Yeah.
And that's why I really love. So I carry it majority of the time unless I can't because of what I'm wearing. Because I have a whole rotation of guns that I carry based on what I'm wearing. But by and large, if I'm going to go to something initially, it's going to go to that first, and then if I can't, then I'll go to something else.
Have you seen that concealed carry holster? It goes deep under your pants, and you have like a leather strap, and
Yeah.
you pull it up, and
Yeah.
it raises up. What do you think about that?
I'm not a fan. So I've tried so many variations of different ways to carry. I've even done your way with the fanny pack deal. And I like that for when I'm running. Right. And I know I poke fun at it, but largely the reason why I don't like it day to day is because I don't really like having a lot of stuff on my waist. I like to just have one single thing, and especially if it's kind of big. So I like to minimize the footprint because like I'm usually like I'm in sweats 90% of the time, right? So like with these sweats that I'm wearing right now, like they're designed for that. Mm-hmm. And so I have my gun, have the belt, dump them in the pants. I'm good to go, and they're comfortable as shit.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's generally that's 99.9% of the way that I carry. Unless it's like in a bag or something.
It's funny that this conversation is so normal with you and I, but if you have this conversation with people from California, they'll look at you like you're fucking insane. Like, what, you carry a gun?
Yeah.
Well, it's also like there's a reality. Like, here's one thing, like constitutional carry. When my friends from California found out that constitutional carry was passed in Texas, so anyone can conceal carry as long as you're not a criminal.
Yeah.
When they saw that, they're like, "What?
Yeah.
Are you crazy?" But wasn't that recently just passed in Ohio,
Yep,
and crime went down?
Down. I did
Went
a video on
down.
that. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Because it's a counterintuitive logic, right? Because if your starting point is if you make guns illegal, then nobody will have guns. Then yeah, I guess you could make the argument that
If nobody broke the law
exactly,
ever,
right?
including criminals.
Exactly.
What a fucking naive
it's
perspective.
like, but people think like that.
Right, but if you think you're going to rob anybody, and then now all of a sudden there's constitutional carry and anyone can have
carry
a gun on them.
That means your job as a criminal has become substantially harder.
Substantially.
Because like criminals don't want to die either.
Right.
Right? And criminals are largely looking for easy targets. Like if you're going to go into the business of crime, you don't want it to be hard because if you did, you would just get a normal job.
Right.
Right? So from that perspective, if they don't know who's carrying,
Exactly.
it makes your job substantially harder as a criminal to find actual victims. And not only that, and I just did a video recently where it's not even the person you're trying to rob or do something to you have to worry about. You have to worry about the people who may see it. Because in this particular situation, it was at a gas station. Guy runs up on him, starts pistol whipping him, and the guy in another car saw it happen and started shooting at the guy. Well, he didn't shoot. He killed him. And so now you have to start thinking, shit. I'm like, I got to find either a different place to go to start looking for victims, or I got to find a new career path. I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
It's just logic. Now, I'm not saying all crime's going to go away. I'm not going to say,
Right.
I'm not saying that.
But if everyone's heavily armed, you're way less likely. It sounds so...
It sounds counterintuitive.
It sounds not just counterintuitive, but it also sounds like anti-progressive in terms of like society and people being civilized.
Yeah.
It sounds anti-civilized.
Yeah, but
Like
what
the
does that
idea
even? What does that
everyone
even,
having a gun?
What does that mean? Who said that pacifism was supposed to be the definition of civility?
Right. Well, that's also like if you're not able to protect yourself, that doesn't make you a more virtuous person. It doesn't. And a virtuous person with a gun does not have different objectives. You're still the same person.
Exactly.
You're still a good person, but you also are protected. You have something that if the shit hits the fan,
That you can protect yourself with. Now,
that's my perspective.
I do think that there are a lot of people who are anti. It's a projection. I've seen this. And what the projection is largely because inevitably if you talk to them long enough, they'll tell you, I don't trust myself with a firearm, so why would I trust you?
Yes, that's it, right? They don't want other people to have guns.
Yeah.
I've heard that before.
Yep.
By the way, those people, when the shit hit the fan in L.A., those were people asking me for guns.
Guns, yeah.
I had friends asking me, can I borrow a gun?
Yeah, that don't surprise me at all.
I go, well, if you lived in Texas, I just give you one. I just give you a gun.
Exactly, but I can't because of the laws.
Yeah.
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 But I mean, but I think it's easy to call it delusion, but that's essentially what it is.
It is delusional.
It's delusion, right? And we have it too easy.
Yeah.
We live in probably the best times that you could possibly live as a human on Earth right now.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
We've lived
Maybe
in
like 5 years ago was better.
Yeah. Okay, that's true. But
Pre-COVID, pre-economy crash.
we live in relative peace, right?
I mean, on a curve, it's pretty. I mean, if you look at a graph of over the history of the Mongol invasion,
Yeah, think about the shit we were doing.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
I don't want to live in a different era.
No,
I don't want to live in a different. Like I love the
No.
'80s. I love the '80s to death. I'm an '80s boy. I would not want to live in the '80s.
Fuck that. Imagine driving those stupid cars. Oh my god.
They have personality though. They have personality.
The fuck out of here.
Cars had personality.
Bro, if I lived in the 80s, I'd have a 1960s car. 100%. Because in the 1980s, I had a 1960s car. 100%.
I always talk myself out of getting one of those old school muscle cars. Every
you
time I
gotta-
want one, but I always talk myself out of it.
Bro, drive one of mine. Next time you come into town, drive my Camaro.
Okay.
Yeah, what you want is a resto mod.
Okay.
Jamie, pull up my
Resto mod. I wanna
pull up
see
my
it.
1969 Roadster Shop Camaro.
Let me see this shit.
Let me see. Let me let you see this murdered out 1969 Camaro with 850 horsepower
Oh, nice.
and a
I like
modern suspension and big ass fat
Jeremy
tires.
Gerber, co-owner of
That's my car. Oh God, volume, Jesus. That's my car.
it. Dude, that is literally how I would do it.
Yes, that's how you do it.
That is that.
Listen to that motherfucker. Wee.
Oh yeah, that is sexy.
And that car drives like a modern car. Like that car has
Really?
incredible brakes, incredible handling.
6-speed.
Yes. What am I, a communist? Look
Stop
at that
it.
thing. Come on, man. If you're gonna get one of those cars, I mean, I don't hate one of those cars in an automatic,
Yeah.
but I always like,
I mean, I get it. I think if I had, that is beautiful. Man.
yeah, man, you could drive one of these, dude. You would love it.
HRE wheels.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Giant fat tires.
Then
Look at
again,
the
this
fat
is
tires on
cheating.
those bitches.
I don't get any other color car but black. So you can usually make me happy if you murder anything else.
Don't make me pull up my 1970 silver Barracuda because you'd change your tune on that.
Let me see that.
Okay,
Yeah, let me
Jamie.
see that. Go ahead.
Because I got
Jamie.
another Roadster shop car. That's
Really?
a 19. Yeah, I have 3 Roadster shop cars, and one of them is a 1970 Barracuda. This is my Barracuda. Wait till you see this motherfucker. Come on, son.
Damn, that interior is nice.
Listen to this.
Oh, that is some real resto mod shit. That
Yeah,
I see
that
what
has
you're
a
saying.
Mercury
Yeah.
racing engine in it that goes to 9,000 RPM. Yeah, it sounds like an exotic. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
All right.
Pass. Could you see it on the road? Let me see it driving. Give me some volume on this. Also, it has a rear transaxle, so it's 50-50 weight distribution.
Oh, that sounds beautiful.
Don't tell me you wouldn't drive a silver car. Come on, bro.
I would. I would just
You'd
wrap.
drive
I would
that
just.
car
I would just
all
wrap
day.
it.
Well, it would look.
I would just wrap it black.
Listen, I love that car the way it is, but if that car was in matte black, it would be fucking sick. Matte black.
I'm
that
matte black.
car?
I'm matte black everything.
Yeah, matte black is
I'm
nice.
matte black everything.
It's nice.
It's the only color I like.
Yeah, matte
Now,
is.
I do like white. I like white with black wheels.
Did you matte black your Lamborghini?
Not yet. It will be.
Is it shiny right now?
It's shiny right now.
Still nice, shiny.
I probably won't have it.
Nighttime in the
I probably
city?
won't have it longer than a year.
Really?
Yeah, I mean
Just
that's what I
get rid
do.
of
I get rid of it, and that's like basically drove it for free, and then get something else.
That's good too, so you don't experience the bullshit.
Yeah, I
After
didn't
you
realize
get-
that till like I used to always think like cars were just kind of like all depreciating assets. Not if you buy them right.
Not exotics.
Yeah, not exotics.
Yeah,
It's
you
like-
actually make money if you buy
Yeah.
Ferraris. Like, look at that. Is that yours?
Yeah, that's my Turbo S. Oh, yeah.
God
And that's
damn, that's a good
before I wrapped it black.
But so,
Right now it's gloss black.
Yeah, but look at that thing.
Yeah.
My God.
I just love the stance. The stance is so sexy.
Well, it's also as fast as you can get an internal combustion engine car. It's like basically electric car
Pretty much
speeds,
but
but with superior handling. Yeah. The way that thing handles, it's like it's a cheetah running up a tree.
But like I told you,
Yeah.
how quickly we get used to. I'm already talking about tuning it. I want to tune it, and
that's nuts.
it's dumb. I mean, I did the last time I came to Austin. I think it was like on a day on a recent freeze. Well, it was supposed to be a freeze.
Yeah.
And it didn't really happen the way everybody thought it was going to happen. It wasn't like
Right.
freeze or Armageddon. So I came. Why did I come to Austin? I forgot. I came here for something. Oh yeah, it was to look at the car, to look at the Lambo or whatever. And so I drove in the middle of the night, and I drove from Dallas to Austin, and I think I averaged speed wise because there was
Don't
no.
say it over the air.
Huh?
You're gonna get in trouble.
How? Prove it.
Yeah, he's lying right now. So go ahead and lie.
All right. So let's just say I maintained a really exciting amount of speed that was within legal speed limits
Oh yeah.
from Dallas to Austin in the most beautiful way possible.
Yeah.
And it was what blew my mind. And the beautiful thing about the Turbo S is even if it did start snowing or raining, whatever, it's all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So, but for like ice, right? Because nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, ice is ice. There's nothing.
It's
you can
not
do
so
about it
good
unless
with
you-
snow either,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
those fat tires.
True, but I still have all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So I could
You can get
manage.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can get around. I'm worried about other people,
Yeah.
especially people in Austin. When we had the freeze here 2 years ago, I was watching people slide around. I was like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. As a kid who grew up in Boston, like I used to drive every day because I delivered newspapers.
Yeah.
So I had to drive 365 days a year. So I know how to drive in snow. Like I really know how to drive in snow.
Did I tell you my story about the first time I ever had to drive in snow ice?
No.
I never told you? No. Oh, boy. This was okay, so this was back when I was with the NRA, right? And so the NRA had their agency of record, which was Ackerman McQueen. And so I was working through them, and their main office is in Oklahoma City. So a lot of times they would have us go down to Oklahoma City for meetings and stuff like that. And so at a Dallas office one time, I had like a 2010 Range Rover, HSE, right? Supercharged. So we drove down there, and Oklahoma, they get real winters.
Yeah.
Right? Not like Dallas. Dallas gets like half real winters, and then Houston gets fake winters. So we finished the meeting early, and we were like, he just didn't want to stay in Oklahoma City. Me and my coworker at the time, he and I were like, we don't want to stay here in Oklahoma City. We just want to get back to Dallas. So
How far is the drive?
about 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
Oh, okay.
So we were getting ready to checking out our hotel, and then we were getting ready to get back on the road. And then the lady's like, they closed the freeway down. They like Salting Freeway, whatever. They closed whatever freeway down. So we're like, we're cool. We'll just take the back roads. Thinking we were being smart. So we took the back road. They don't salt the back roads.
Yeah.
So I'm in a fucking Range Rover. I'll be all right. So I'm in the Range Rover, and it's ice. It's not even snow. It's really ice. It's just like the whole roads are just sheets of ice, right? So I'm like, if I drive slow and careful, we'll be good. So we're driving, and at a certain point, I realized it's probably not the smartest idea in the world because now, like usually it's kind of like patch of ice, regular road, patch of ice, regular road. No, this was at a point now where it was like straight ice. 'Cause remember, they don't salt the back roads.
Yeah.
So we're driving, and there's like this embankment. Like, yeah. And I'm like, as long as I go slow, I should be good. Keep in mind, I'm a novice at this. I've never driven in this type of condition ever in my life, right? So I'm just thinking, I have a Range Rover for a drive, not realizing your tires are what matter at the time. And so at this point, we go on there, and I can feel the car kind of shake a little bit. And I'm like, okay, that's not good. So just slow down a little bit. And just keeps doing it. And then it snaps. Car starts spinning on the embankment. So now we're heading straight into the ditch. So the truck is spinning. We're heading into the ditch. And we hit the ditch, and I come in backwards. Ooh. And so you know those moments when shit happens, and you just kind of have to sit there for a second to take it in and then figure out what the hell's going on? That's what happened. And in that time period, because in my mind, I'm like, how the fuck are we going to get out of this? This isn't like something I can drive
You can
out
freeze
of.
to death out there.
Exactly. And so we're sitting in there, and I'm like, I don't know how we're going to get out of this. And before I could finish the thought and process it, I looked to my right, and there's a big-ass tractor coming down the road. And it was a guy who owned the farm who was basically sat there and saw what happened.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought he was sliding into you.
No. He was coming to help us, to pull us out. So he comes over, and he's like, looks like y'all are in a bit of a pickle. And I was like, yeah, something like that. And he goes, ain't this fancy truck four-wheel drive? And I was like,
Four-wheel drive with sport tires.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was just giving me shit.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah. And he just started laughing. He's like, I'll have you out in 5 minutes. So he hooked us up, pulled us out. He's like, stay at the very top, ride that, and you be good. So we did that. But the thing is, the ice was still there. So that 3-hour trip took us 10 hours.
Oh, my God.
I think we did 10 to 15 miles an hour the entire way.
Lucky you didn't run out of gas, too.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, when we got back into that, I dropped my coworker off at his place. And then as I was pulling up to my building, my brakes went out.
Just died?
Yeah. Because I was riding them the entire way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I guess they were just like, we're done. Like, and I mean, when I tell you they couldn't have gone out at a more perfect time, I pulled into my building, got into my parking spot, and as I was trying to pull into the parking spot, they just went out. Now, I had enough friction to get it to slow down because I was at a slower speed, but at that point, so basically I had to use the handbrake.
Wow.
Yeah.
See this video a couple days ago? Missouri
No.
truck on an icy hill.
Oh no. Oh, my
I did
God.
see this, yeah.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Look at her smoking. Oh my God.
It just smashed a car though. Luckily,
That hit a car?
it just hit this parked car, that blue car right there.
Oh,
Didn't hit anything else. It's a different angle.
They got
Shows-
lucky.
Yeah.
Very lucky.
Look at that thing spin.
Dude, and there's nothing you can do.
Nothing. When I was a kid, I lived on a hill in Newton, Massachusetts, and me and my sister's boyfriend sat on the roof and watched people slide down our hill and crash. We called the cops. We said, "Hey, man, you should probably close the street down," because there was like 5 cars in a row, spun out, bounced off the curb, went into ditches. We were just watching people try to come down the hill and just slide completely out of control.
Dude, and you made a good point. It's when you're like, now I feel like I'm, with all the traveling I do, I've driven from Dallas to Utah to New Mexico. I've driven in ice, I've driven in snow.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty comfortable with it now, even though I still don't really like it.
There's nothing you could do about ice, though.
There's nothing, but there's also, what you pointed out was other people.
Yeah.
So now that's what makes me nervous, because I'm like, I remember when we had the freeze apocalypse or whatever in Dallas. Yeah, I got in my truck and went out there and started kind of driving around because I kind of knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I was always constantly looking in my rearview mirror, because I was like, there's going to be some dumbass who's going way too fast and doesn't realize that you can't stop at the same distance on ice patches, and they're going to just ride into me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this isn't fun anymore. So I just went back inside.
In Austin, they don't even have plows. They don't.
Because we're not
have-
used to that shit.
But that's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
you should have a few. It seems like it happens.
Look, let me tell you, that Texas arrogance, sometimes 99% of the time, it's a great thing. There's that other 1% where it's like, all right, stop being stupid.
I think it's a funding issue.
I think so.
Yeah, they think they can't justify buying
which
millions of dollars worth of snow plows for
that's
the
true.
city when it snows once every 3 years.
But I mean, it's also a one-time purchase. I mean,
Right.
main maintenance and keep-up can't be that expensive for a snowplow.
Well, I bet there were some conversations about it after the big freeze
I'm
a
pretty
couple of
sure,
years ago. But
yeah.
I have that Land Cruiser. And that thing was awesome during the
Was
snow.
it?
I was loving
What
it.
kind of? Do you have
It's
one
a
of those?
1995.
What kind of tires do you have on it?
This is all terrain.
all terrain? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So they're great.
Yeah.
You can drive over anything in those fuckers.
Yeah, I saw it when you pulled in. I was like, yep, looks about right.
Yeah, that thing's hooked up. That was the truck that I bought. I had made when I was nervous about living in LA. I'm like, if something happens, like an earthquake, fire, flood, I want to be able to go over these hills. I don't want to be stuck on these roads because there was a road in Northern California where there was a major fire and everyone on the road burned to death because the fire storm swept through the road and they were trapped in bumper-to-bumper traffic and they all got cooked.
No.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. That's another reason why I will always have a truck with that has off-road capabilities.
Yeah. Well, that's the TRX, right?
Yeah.
TRX.
Even though some people would argue that it's not an off-road truck.
That motherfucker can go off-road.
Yeah, I know.
I've driven
I've
mine
driven it. I've
off-road.
taken mine
Yeah.
off-road. I have the scratches on that bitch to prove it.
Yeah, they can go off-road. Those things are capable.
Yeah,
It is kind of amazing. Like a Raptor, that is essentially a Baja racing truck for the street.
Pretty much.
They have amazing travel in terms of like you could bounce on things, you could go over giant bumps.
It's stupid. But it's the most giddy experience ever. You just sit in the thing. You just this is how you drive a TRX or a Raptor.
Wee.
That's how you drive them.
Yeah.
The whole time.
The TRX does come from the factory with some fucking janky ass brakes, though.
Don't get me started on that shit.
They're not good.
That shit is a liability, bro.
Yeah, they're not good.
They're not. I changed them. I put the Wilcox on there. Was it Wilcox? Yeah.
I put the whatever Hennessy puts on.
Gotcha.
I forget what he
and
uses.
Then now,
Yeah.
brakes are phenomenal.
Yeah, mine too.
Phenomenal.
Big difference.
Yeah.
But not good.
No, the standard, like anybody who has a TRX with the stock brakes on there, you just understand you're a rolling liability.
Well, you have to realize, like, your stopping distance from 60 to 0 is twice what a car is.
And I learned that the hard way.
I don't know if it's twice, but whatever it is, it's definitely not, like, if you have a Tesla and you have to stop at 60, and then you have a TRX, you have to stop at 60, There's no way you're winning that competition.
You're not. And it's not even close.
Not even close.
Like I remember when it was
many
like,
car lengths.
Exactly.
Many.
I had the truck for like a week, and I drove to Houston, and I remember when I was in Houston, I forgot the name of it, but there's a road where it's kind of windy, not like sports car windy, but just kind of does things, and you can get up to speed. So I'm just driving TRX, and then they were like out of nowhere, I come around the corner and there's like 8 cars sitting at the light, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I never thought about how bad this thing is at stopping.
Yeah.
And I remember standing on the brakes, and then when you hear that, and you're like, please stop, please stop, please stop, please stop, please stop. And it did. But after that, a week later, I got the brakes upgraded.
Yeah.
I did a big brake hit on it and called it.
Well, I noticed a giant difference because I had a Hennessy Raptor before that, the regular Raptor before the R was out, which is a great car. Yeah. And then with great brakes. Hennessy upgrades the brakes too. And then I went to the standard TRX after that. I was like, oh my God, these brakes are dog shit. What is the stopping distance from 60 to 0 on a stock TRX? Because I know they have to give you the stats on that. It's probably like barely what it should be, and you'd be able to drive it. 130 feet? 130 feet. Jesus. So, okay. Now, what is the stopping distance from 60 to 0 in a Corvette Stingray, a 2023 Corvette Stingray?
Keep in mind, that's with no weight.
No weight.
There's
right. What
no
if you
weight.
have a backfill with cement or whatever the fuck you're carrying back there, 5 people in the car? Yeah. 130 feet is crazy.
93 feet?
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
The same for Viper,
that is
911.
Think about that. That's
almost. You said 160.
Yeah. 130 feet versus how much? 90 feet?
Yeah, pretty much 93.
Jeez.
That's a giant difference. That's a giant difference.
They got to do something about those brakes, and they have to do something about the fucking onboard security system, because the way they're able to steal these trucks is insane.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Dude, they still not Raptors. They still anything Mopar. Anything Mopar. If you don't have a kill switch on it, if you don't have whatever the neutral thing is to stop them from being throw it in neutral, if you don't have a GPS on it or Apple AirTalk, your truck will be gone. I have dudes in my building who've bought a TRX, went to dinner with their wives to come back out and their truck was gone. You can look it up online. They will steal these things in a second.
They're easy to steal.
They're easy as fuck to steal. It's insane.
Really? Interesting. Major vulnerability to steal Dodge Ram trucks. Fuck.
Oh yeah, they have the repeaters. They'll come outside your house and boost the signal. And
that's crazy that they can do that. So that's the thing they do with these wires.
Yep.
So they can find that you have a remote control inside, and then they mirror the remote
boost
control.
The signal.
They boost the signal, and then you start your car. Crazy.
Yep. They steal them like that. Like it's like clockwork.
Wow. Yeah, that's not good.
No, it's not. Anything Mopar, Hellcats, TRXs, Trackhawks.
So much electronics in cars. Another thing that's freaking me out is that they're trying to put kill switches in all cars.
Yeah.
Where, if you're driving and the government wants to stop you, they'll just stop your car.
It's like that.
Yeah.
That's electrical shit.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's so sketchy.
I'm not for it, man.
It's great if someone's stealing your car and you can call, whatever it is, OnStar.
Yeah,
and say, hey, someone stole my car, and they can shut your car off.
That's the thing about convenience.
Right.
Yeah, it's a gift and a curse. And then you're giving up something to gain something when it comes to convenience. So it's like, how inconvenient do you want to live in order to have absolute autonomy versus massive amounts of convenience, but now you're kind of at the mercy of the government, more or less. Or whatever corporation is providing that convenience.
Do you remember that story? There was a story about a journalist, and this journalist was writing a piece for Rolling Stone, and he went overseas, and he was embedded with a troop, and it was in Afghanistan, I believe, and while they were over there, the volcano erupted in Iceland. So because of that, there was no flights for like 2 weeks. You couldn't fly out because they couldn't see.
Yeah.
So until that volcanic dust settles. So they were stranded. So this Michael Hastings, is that what his name is? So this guy was around these people, and they got a little comfortable with him. And they started talking shit. And then he printed everything they were saying, talking shit, including this general, this beloved general who's talking shit about Obama.
Yeah.
So this guy comes back and he's getting mad death threats and he's fucking terrified for his life. And he's saying, listen, if I fucking die, I did not kill myself.
Yeah.
Just there's threats on my life. And his car was going down, was it La Brea? There's video of it. He had a brand new Mercedes. This car was going down La Brea at like 120 miles an hour, went straight into a tree and exploded. And exploded in a crazy way, where the engine ejected from the vehicle, where they're like, this is indicative of like an explosion. Like there's like rigged, like something was.
So basically, something
There's
that forced
conspiracy
the forced the
theory.
accelerator all the way down, had the car flying.
Exactly. The conspiracy theory is that that's what happened.
Yeah.
You know, the problem is there's no way to know.
No.
And they also said that he tested positive for amphetamines.
Of course.
But the problem with that is journalists all take amphetamine. It is the dirty secret of journalists. I have friends that are journalists, and they said that Adderall use is ubiquitous.
I mean, that's how I was in law. I was apparently the only person in law school not on Adderall. Like, it was
it's
crazy.
apparently amazing.
Yeah.
I have not tried it, but everybody who wants to be productive says, Jesus Christ.
I know what coffee does to me. And coffee is just a minor form of fucking Adderall, if you
It's
ask
the
me.
most minor.
Yeah. And I know what that does to me.
Yeah.
So if I ever took Adderall, I'd become Superman.
Yeah,
And I would like that shit so much
exactly.
that I don't ever want to touch it.
My exact feelings. I don't want to try
Yeah,
it.
because I know I have ADHD.
My friend Duncan has a great bit about. I don't even know if that's real. My friend Duncan has a great bit about it. He goes, "It's like a scientist did cocaine and went, I can fix this." And that's Adderall.
Okay, so you don't think ADHD? You don't know if ADHD is real? I don't know either.
Like
I haven't looked
I
into
think
it.
it's a
but I just,
First of all, I think it's a superpower. I think if you have it, it's a superpower. And I think I most certainly have it. If I have it, look, I have an ability to focus on things that's very unusual, and it's obsessive focusing on things. And I use it to my advantage. Like it helps me get good at things. It helps me. It's for sure. It's helped me in my career. For sure, it's helped me with martial arts. For sure, it's helped me with everything I do.
I think you're right, and I say that because I remember when I was in law school, and I remember I had a professor Moore. I don't know if she actually went to say her name, but whatever. Loved her to death. And I remember she was talking to me about me possibly having ADHD, whatever. And she was like, you don't think linearly, like the way which makes you great at a lot of things, but then kind of hampers you. Like, I am not a standardized test taker. I'm not good at it.
Right, you're not good at things you don't want to do.
Yeah, bingo.
That's what it is.
If I'm not stimulated,
Right.
I am miserable.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to look at it. I'm like, I'm just all right.
By the way, you align with like most of my friends. Maybe that's why we're friends. I mean, I feel like most of my friends are kind of like fucking psycho about certain things that they love.
It's you start talking to me about cars.
Yes.
Start talking to me about
Guns,
guns.
yeah.
You start talking to me about
The
law.
Yeah.
Like anything like that. I actually have a
Yeah.
passion. Like you can't stop me from being focused on it. Right.
And you can rattle off information that's at your fingertips all the time because you
Exactly.
store it.
Yep.
It's in a file in your brain. You just open that bitch up and it's there.
I always say I have a terrible memory, but I have great recall. You know what I mean?
That's good. I have a convenient memory.
Yeah.
My memory is really good. Like it's stunningly good
Mine's
when
terrible.
it's things that I'm interested in.
Gotcha.
But if it's something that I don't give a fuck about, it's like I throw that right out.
For
It
me,
comes in, goes out.
For me, it's names. It's bad, dude.
Oh, it's bad
It's
with names.
bad.
Well,
It's
the other
really
thing is
bad.
you're a public person, so you meet a lot of people.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because I had thought that, and I'm like, no, you're just making excuses for yourself.
No, that's real.
Because I'm inundated with new names all
Constantly.
the time, and so I'm just kind of, and I'll forget names. I'm like, why am I forgetting these people's names? And
Right.
it's almost like it's just overflow. Like there's
Exactly.
names that'll drop off, and then I'll be able to recall it, but then another name will drop off, and then it's like,
Well, it's Dunbar's number. Do you know what that is?
No.
Dunbar's number is this principle that's based on the idea that we came from tribal societies.
Mm-hmm.
So all human beings came from groups of like 50 people, 150 people. And the idea is that there's a circle of people that are close to you
Mm-hmm.
that you're very close to. And that's that whatever that number is, 5 to 10, whatever it is. And then there's a circle of people that you really like, but you don't see as much, and that's like 20 or 30.
Yeah.
And then it gets further and further out to like acquaintances and people you barely know. So this is Dunbar's number.
okay.
So 5 very close friends. So, and then it gets to close friends. It gets like 15 to 50, and then it gets to friends that you would invite them to a party that's 150, then it gets to acquaintances, it's 500. People who you remember how you met. And then it's 1,500 people that you could put a name to a face. Now imagine how many people you meet compared to the average person that works in the same place and he sees the same friend group and goes to the same church or whatever. You're around the same group of people all the time. You don't have to remember that many names.
Yeah,
You might meet over the course of 10 years. There might be like 300 people that you interact with regularly. That's most folks.
Shit,
But
I was just at SHOT Show.
right, okay.
We're talking hundreds and hundreds of people in the course of 3 days.
There's no way.
No, like
There's no way
I'm
you're
like,
going to remember all those names.
nah,
And
not
people
at
get
all.
mad at you.
I know.
They get
I
mad.
know. Especially women.
Yeah. Well, people get mad if you don't remember the names. They get mad if you don't remember that you met them. It's like, I can't do it. You don't understand. I don't have my hard drive is full.
I can't.
There's no room in there.
It's nuts. I mean,
Yeah.
hell, even remembering to send messages that I was supposed to respond to sometimes.
Oh yeah,
Like,
no, it's impossible. Like, look at my phone. Like when you see like how many messages that I haven't
All right,
answered.
let's compare because I always do this.
How many
and
you got?
I usually win this battle.
How
So
many you
right
got?
now, text messages, I have 1,152 unopened text messages.
I have 175.
175. Damn.
Yeah.
So I have
gotcha.
now. Here's where it gets insane.
Okay.
My emails.
Okay.
440,124.
Whoa. I think you got me there. That's crazy. That's
Now, in all fairness, I have like 5 different emails attached to that. But
I have. Oh wait a minute, I might have you.
Some maintenance there.
I have 168,485.
okay, yeah. See, I've surpassed you.
Yeah, you got me. You got me beat on that.
Yeah,
But I also have 5 email addresses.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 attached to this. Yeah,
It's crazy, man.
yeah. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Very bad.
But,
yeah.
I
But
mean-
it's also it's like the nature of being a public person, especially if, and I also have 4 phone numbers. So it's like
See, I have 2.
yeah, and I have to change mine now. It's like I've started getting text messages from people I don't know. And
I'm this close to being at the point where you are, where I'm like, too many people have my number,
exactly.
and
yeah.
so I'm like, I've had this number for ages, and I'm like,
yeah, it's a kind of a gross conversation for other people. Like, wow, what's your problem? What's the big deal? But
man.
it's unmanageable. You have to understand it's unmanageable. And when you're a person like you or I, people are always looking for something from you. Like all day long, it's can you do this? Will you come to that?
and I have a very hard time saying no.
Yeah.
I haven't. I've started mastering it now,
Yeah.
but it took a long time because I would feel guilty. Because I feel blessed to be in a position that I'm in. So if I'm in a position to help where I can help, I'm going to want to do it. But I'm started realizing I'm giving too much of myself, and what ends up happening is I start fucking myself essentially.
Yeah. It's the pros and cons of connectivity. I think ultimately, like we were saying before, it's the best time to be alive. The benefits way outweigh the negatives.
yeah.
But there's a lot of weirdness to it. And one of the things that we were talking about at lunch today was that there's this statistic now where they did this survey of these women, and they found that 50% of married women have a backup boyfriend.
Yeah.
Meaning, if this fucking husband falls apart, if he talks too much shit, if she gets tired of his bullshit, she has another guy that she's been in contact with that she can kind of get a hold of, and that guy could be the new boyfriend.
Yeah, I've been the backup.
And that, I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
And that,
And then they
it's-
realize that's a terrible fucking idea.
but it's like 70% of women in relationships have this.
Yeah, I doesn't.
7-0.
When I read the article, I'm like, oh, y'all just found this out. I swear to God, I
Yeah.
promise you, I've always known that.
Especially women on social media who take thirst trap pictures. Like, my God.
It's a beautiful way. The social media has provided a beautiful avenue to have a roster.
yeah.
So it's like they have a bench. They have a starting 5, and then they have a
Exactly.
bench, right?
Exactly.
And all you
got
have
number 1 draft pick.
Exactly.
He's the
right?
guy who texts you every now and then. How you doing?
But they all serve a different role.
You looking
Yeah,
good?
they're all serve a different role.
Yeah.
There's a He's nice. He listens to me wax poetic about nothing, guy.
He'll go out on a date with me, even though I have no romantic interest in him.
Whatsoever.
He'll take me out if me and the husband are in a fight.
This guy makes me look really good, so I'll kind of bring him out. This guy has really good sex, so I'll call him over in the middle of the night after I finish with the guy who takes me out.
Well, when I
50% of married women have a backup lover. Ooh.
Well, so when I Google this thing that you, like 50% have a backup, this article pops up as a story every 2 or 3 years.
Well, probably
Back to
true.
I know, but I mean, maybe it doesn't have anything to do with social media or anything. Because
okay.
2014
Well,
this is happening.
2014,
Yeah, that's
people
when
still
social
had
media was
social
really-
media.
yeah.
I know, but this is just the first page of searching. If I go
Right.
back and check like 2009, would it say that? Would I go back to Cosmopolitan articles from 2000?
I
would
think
it
it's,
say the
but you got to
same
remember
thing?
too. You got to remember, women are social creatures, so that's usually probably based on a survey.
Right.
And generally speaking, I think it's a lot higher.
Well, probably a lot
admit
higher
it.
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. They wouldn't admit it, but probably a lot higher now because of social media, because
Yes.
of direct messaging.
I agree.
There's so much of that going around.
I tell my friends this all the time. You know, some of them are married. You know, I'm still out here. And back in the day, you could only touch who you could actually touch.
Right.
Now, the game's changed.
Yeah.
You can touch anyone. If a girl's like, "Oh my God," and she lives in Central Kansas,
Yep.
and she loves Michael B. Jordan,
Right.
slide into DMs.
Yep.
Like and then
Yep.
he may read it, he may not.
And if he goes to her page and she's
hot.
woo,
Well,
let's go.
hello, Sarah in Central Kansas.
Yeah.
How's it going?
What's
Y'all
up?
Fly, you get what I'm saying? So it's taking the game to a whole new level where it's
Yeah.
like everybody, and it goes both ways too.
Sure.
The only difference is a guy reaching out to say some like super famous actress is.
Good luck.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
not going to work.
Because there's like 900 of you doing the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
not only that, it's like women don't want that. They don't, like, if a woman's a super famous actress, she don't want some random carpenter sliding into her DM.
Shit. I disagree 100,000%. Yeah, she likes the attention.
Okay.
Yeah,
but she's not thinking
the
of that
currency.
as a guy that she's going to
No,
bang
no,
if
no,
she
no,
happens
no,
to be in
no.
Kansas.
Yeah, no, not at
Right?
all. Like, you don't stand a chance in hell.
Right.
But, to pick up her phone, it's like, another one.
That
But
they like.
to get that dopamine
Yes.
spike, and then it's on to the next.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild. I mean, look, I'm complaining, but I like to look at it. Like if women put thirst traps on their Instagram, like, ooh, look at that. I like to look at it. So I'm not complaining in the sense I don't want you to stop doing it. I want you to do whatever you want to do. But I think psychologically, the temptation and also just knowing that you have that many suitors that are waiting in the wings, it makes arguments very different.
Yeah. One thing I'm never going to apologize for being a man, ever. At the same time, if they have the access and the ability to do it, it is what it is.
Yeah, and also like a woman's window of opportunity is smaller than a man's.
I'd say that much.
It just is, unfortunately. For whatever reason, it's not fair. If a woman has between the ages of whatever age of age, where they're legal till they're, if they're really hot and they work out a lot, late 40s.
That's pushing it, but
Yeah, but
I
it
can see
gets-
that, yeah.
And when women are single in their late 40s, guys are like, why is she single and she's in her late 40s,
Well, I think life is kind of cruel in a way that they've created an inverse peak for men and women.
Right.
Right? So when we were younger, didn't nobody want us.
Right.
Nobody wanted. I mean, you're
broke.
Yeah, I'm a broke dude. It's
Yeah.
cute. You're in college. You got your little
Yeah.
dorm room, right?
Right.
Because when I was in college, all the girls were dating. They were dating older dudes. They were dating the drug dealers, the ball players. I didn't judge them. I always told my friends, I was like, "Dude, you're boring.
Right.
Like I'm boring.
You have no resources.
I wake up. I go to class,
Yeah.
and I come back home to my dorm room.
Yeah.
Where you have a whole guy here who has his own apartment, own
Right.
house, own
Yep.
car, can
Right.
fly you out, do all this
Go
stuff.
on
He's fun.
trips.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The problem is at a certain point it flips. The best time of my life started at 30. Right?
Right.
30, you can't tell me shit. You can't tell me shit.
Right.
Whereas when a woman starts hitting 30, which she's had her fun, right? She's on boats, she's doing all that stuff. She's having a great time.
Yeah.
Have at it.
Yeah.
The problem is the switch flips, and now she's looking for something more serious, more stable. Unfortunately, when you're 30 and I'm 30 and I'm like, you can't tell me shit, and she's 30 and she's like, I'm ready to be in something serious, you're gonna have this. You're gonna the lines start crossing in ways that aren't conducive to.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So it's like that's when you start kind of having these age gap relationships where you start having individuals. You start having guys who are 30, 40 dating 24, 23-year-olds.
Right.
Because it's like, well, I finally got to a point where I'm making money. I have the resources to do what I want and have fun. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start enjoying that life that I wanted when I was younger.
And so a lot of times they'll date women who aren't looking for serious boyfriends.
Exactly.
Because they're looking to have fun as well.
Exactly.
So they're not putting pressure on you to have a family and settle down.
Yep. So that's taking those guys essentially off the market for the women who are now at a point where they're like, okay, I want something more. I want something more steady, right? And so, like I said, life is cruel. Life is just kind of cruel like that.
Yeah.
So it creates this dynamic where it's like, now they're looking at like, where are all the guys that are my age? Because they're not looking to date younger guys, and they're not looking to date super old guys either, whatever the hell that means. But
well, Jordan Peterson talks about this too. There's also this disproportionate thing that happens where men who have resources and who are attractive, it's such a small percentage of the population.
Yeah.
And those men have access to a much larger percentage of women. So the amount of men today that don't have girlfriends and haven't had sex in a long time, it's staggering.
Staggering.
You can call them incels, you can call them whatever you want, but unfortunate gentlemen is what I like to call them.
And that is not good for a society.
Not good. I mean, that's what's happening in China.
Yeah.
Right? China had that one-child policy, which was disastrous. You know, like when someone was saying all these Chinese men of military age are entering into this country, I'm like, okay, maybe they're a terror cell. That's the worst case scenario. Or maybe they're guys who are in China who are fucked.
Yeah.
There's no girls there. So, like, if you want to, and also you're trapped in a communist society. You know, you're trapped in a dictatorship.
But here's the irony behind that. There's also a segment of men in America who are like, I want to go abroad and find a woman.
Right.
Right? It's
right. Find women with lower standards.
It's the weirdest thing. Well, I mean, lower standards are a different environment.
Well, lower standards, because I've been paying attention to these guys who go down to, like, Colombia, and these, like, ugly dudes that go down to Colombia and get these bomb-ass Colombian chicks.
Now, you got to make the distinction. There's a distinction there. There are some who kind of go in there, they're really honestly going there to have fun.
Right.
Right? And then there are some who are honestly kind of looking for something more traditional. Because these places tend to have more of a traditional structure.
Right.
So, like, I think you kind of have to split that dynamic a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables there. Yeah.
But just at the same time, like you said, then there's guys from other countries, foreign countries, when they come to America to get women. So it's so weird how you kind of have this, like, crossing of the seas in order to get the same thing in different places.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And there's
Look,
some
my mom's hitting me up for grandbabies every other day. So I'm the last person to be talking to about this.
Are you ever gonna do it?
I mean, if it happens, it happens.
So it's like you just have to find the right combination of woman, circumstance.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I'm obsessed with my freedom, right? And it's to a fault.
Yeah.
And I'm not against it, but
it's also served you well.
It has, and I guard it viciously.
Right, because we've all seen men that got trapped.
Yeah.
Hence my conversation about my friend earlier that has to pay child support.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I usually don't even talk about this because largely when you do speak about it publicly, nobody ever tries to see that from your perspective.
Right.
Right? It's just like, what are
You're
you doing?
a woman
like,
hater.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. You're a player.
Misogyny, right? Yeah,
Misogynist,
you're a whatever.
Yeah.
But which is fine. I've kind of built up walls that doesn't really bother me. You can't really shame me that way. Largely because what I'm doing is I'm protecting my peace.
Yeah, and also you've seen the other side of it. It's not like you don't know what the negative consequences are.
Definitely seen the other
We've
side.
all seen
of it.
horrific relationships.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's
men
largely
are emasculated and controlling. And there's another thing that happens in those controlling relationships that I was watching this conversation this woman who was a psychologist was having with this other podcaster. I forget who it was. But she was saying that essentially one of the problems that happens with women is that they have this desire to control their environment and control men. But then as soon as they control men, they stop being attracted to that man.
I never listen to what women say in terms of what they want.
Really?
No, I
just always assume there's some.
No, I just watch the actions because actions are there.
Yeah.
Right. Because you got to remember, like women live in a very socialized reality. Right? Like when you think lone wolf, you don't think lone woman. You think lone man.
Right.
So they're conditioned, and I'm speaking general, like there's always exceptions, right? But generally speaking, they're social creatures. So they're going to say what they're supposed to say, right? Because otherwise they're going to be judged. Because if you ask a woman, what does she want? She was like, I want a nice guy who's stable, who's sweet, and so forth and so on. Because if she says no, I want the bad boy rocker who does, whatever. People are going to judge her for that desire.
Right.
But then again, at the same time, she still actually may want both. Right. And in many ways thinks she can have both. Because remember that roster? With all the different guys that serve different purposes.
The backup man.
Yeah. So, there's that aspect to it that I think I understand it. I do. But I don't make decisions off of I won't make decisions off of it because I understand what somebody does versus what they say can be two totally different things.
Yeah, well, that's the lawyer in you too.
Very much so.
But there's another problem, and the other problem is media depictions of relationships. Mm-hmm. And that these media depictions of relationships are not based on actual relationships. They're based on playing to these desires that people have for this perfect thing.
Yeah, and I think it creates an unattainable standard because what I've learned from my friends that I know who are married and are in good marriages, but from what I can gauge, shit's hard. It's not always fun. It isn't. And I think a lot of people look at relations, and even just relationships in general, it's not an easy thing to do. You're talking about two different people. You're talking about people who are totally different. They may come together in some commonality, which is why they're attracted to each other. But you're still talking about two different personalities who have to come together and live with each other.
Right.
And so that's not an easy thing to do.
And it's also why people are attracted to each other. They're not attracted generally to the same type of personality.
Which
generally.
is true. Yeah. Which is absolutely true.
I think those media depictions of reality, they fuck us up in so many ways because people look to movies and songs, and they look to that as their model of what life should be, including other aspects of your life outside of relationships like retirement. Mm-hmm. Like people have this idea, one day I'm going to retire and I'm going to have a great... No, you're going to die earlier. You're going to be disinterested and unengaged, and you're not going to be stimulated, and you're going to fucking die.
That's funny you said that because I'll be honest with you. I had that sometimes 99%, all I do is work. You know that about me. I'm always working, which is why I think I'm also so passionate about the things that have nothing to do with work.
And also why you're so passionate about freedom because you don't want anybody to get in the way of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I always have this fantasy that I thought I would reach a point where I could just do nothing, and I would do nothing, and I would just enjoy the rest of my life doing nothing. Right? The more I talk to people who are further along in their life than me, further along in their career than I, people who've retired, they all say the same thing, and it echoes the sentiment that you just said. The last thing you want to do is do nothing.
Yeah.
Because you will die early.
Yeah, you don't want to sit on the porch.
Yeah.
I might want to sit on the porch for a few hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to relax. I like watching TV occasionally.
Yeah.
Sit down, and when I know that I've done a lot and I can just chill and watch some stupid shit on TV, great. I like it.
Yeah.
I've figured out a way to enjoy that. But the idea of doing nothing, I may get to a certain point where I don't work anymore.
Yes.
But I will always be doing stuff. I'll always be bow hunting. I'll always be working out. I'll always be playing pool. I'll always be following hobbies. I'll always be doing things that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
But what I'm lucky about, and I think what you're lucky about as well, is that the things that we're interested in are also the things we do for a living.
And that's why I feel so blessed.
Oh, we're so lucky.
Yeah.
We're so lucky. There's so many people out there. It's that Thoreau quote that most men live lives of quiet desperation. And when you're doing what you actually enjoy doing, you are so much better off than someone who's insanely wealthy, who's miserable because they don't like what they're doing and they're just making money.
I like working like I said, before investments that I've made that have done really well, I like working for each and every dollar I make.
You like creating good content.
Yes. And I genuinely love it.
Yeah.
And it sucks sometimes, I'll be honest.
Sure, it's difficult.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
The pressure you put on yourself, it can be maddening.
But it's also rewarding.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the journey of what makes things interesting and intriguing. And I think the way human beings evolved, we evolved trying to solve complex puzzles. And initially it was, how do I get food?
Yeah.
How do I protect my village? How do I protect my family? How do I avoid plague and fucking predators and all these? So people had to solve complex problems. So it's a natural human reward system that's built into the organism in order for this organism to survive. So this idea of like complete sedentary lifestyle providing you any enjoyment is just fucking nonsense.
It really is. And the funny thing is, I want to say about a couple months ago, I was flirting with burnout every other day, like straight up. And then I realized the reason I'm flirting with burnout is because the way I'm approaching it. I'm approaching it like, I want to finish this so I can get to nothing. Instead of, I enjoy doing this. It's work, but this is what I'm doing, right? And I don't want to say, no, I did. That feelings, that kind of, well, let's call it transient, but that feeling of burnout or almost flirting with burnout every other day essentially kind of went away because I just threw myself into what I was doing instead of looking at it as something I got to get done so I can get to nothing. Because what was happening was I would do something, finish it, and then there's something else, and then there's something else. And I'm like, God, I just want to take a break. I just want to be able to take a break and just do nothing for like a month. But do I really?
No.
Because within 3 days, if that,
Exactly.
I'm going to be like, what can I create?
Well, I enjoy vacations now, but I enjoy it as a time that I can spend with my family and we can hang out together and I can have 24/7 time with my kids. Because when my kids are in school, they're in school all day, they have friends, they have sports they do, they have activities. It's hard to spend like a lot of quality time. When we go on vacation, if we go on vacation for a week, it's 1 week of just hanging out and I try to get as many laughs in, as many fun things to do. But it's sort of activity driven. We enjoy time together. We do stuff. The idea of just like, Jordan Peterson talks about this as well. He talks about this imaginary thing that people have. One day you're going to be on the beach drinking margaritas, like staring at the sunrise.
You know what's funny about that?
Yeah.
When I have that fantasy in my brain, you want to know what I'm doing?
What?
I'm sitting on the beach, I'm drinking a margarita, and have my computer, and I'm working on a script.
Yeah.
That to me is my fantasy.
Right.
It's like, I don't like like I want to be able to do what I want, but I just end up doing what I'm
you
doing.
Enjoy.
Yeah. And so.
Yeah, but a day or two of that is fine.
Yes. I'll binge watch.
Yeah,
I'll spend a day and I'll binge watch a show for like a day or two.
And then you start feeling guilty.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's a sign of someone who loves what they do.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not like like what you're doing is something you actually enjoy. So getting away from it is not enjoyable.
It's not.
It's
not really not.
That's the key to a happy life. Is surround yourself with people that are very fun to be around, that you love, that you enjoy. You like seeing them succeed. You love spending time with them. You all have fun together. Yeah. And then generally it's birds of a feather. So like my friends all love, like to a person, they all love what they do.
Yeah.
To a person. The people that I enjoy being around. And that's, to me, when they do well and they're happy and they can tell me about this thing that they're doing and how excited they are, it makes me excited. Yep. And I want to do more stuff.
Yeah. Like people's passion for things is very infectious.
Very infectious.
Very infectious, man.
Fuck, I love watching dudes make tables. I've been, the last few days, I've been on this YouTube rabbit hole watching dudes make tables. I have zero desire to make a table. Yeah. But I was watching these dudes make this fucking dope desk for this guy, and it was like resin and wood, and they're putting it all together and had this cool design to it. I was like, damn, that's badass. And the passion that these guys had for making sure that all the joints fit perfectly together, sanding them down, it's all precise, and they're taking you through the process as a narrator, talking about how time consuming this is, but this is the way to do it, because then the end result is so worth it. And then they're standing there when they deliver this desk. I'm like, damn, that's pretty dope.
No, it's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is like I've started realizing I might be into decor more than I'm willing to admit to myself.
Really?
Yeah. Not so much like I want to style houses or stuff like that, but like I think that's why I like hotels so much. Like I'm a hotel snob.
Right, like a dope hotel. When you go in there and you feel good.
Nothing makes me happier, man. And it's like, especially when you're traveling, because the process of traveling sucks. Traveling is fun. The process sucks, right? Mainly just the airport shit. But I love, like, even when I come here, right? When I come to Austin, like, I look forward to coming to Austin because I have hotels I really enjoy out here. Like, I stay at the Proper, or I stay at the Thompson. I love those I love those hotels, right?
Those are dope hotels.
Yeah. And it does wonders just for even just revitalizing you and just kind of pulling you out in. Because where I live now, I love where I live. I love it. But there's just something different about being in a hotel.
Yeah, stylish bar, beautiful restaurant that you go to that's in the hotel.
I travel so much and spend so much time in hotel bars, I almost wanted to start a blog where I just talk about my experiences at hotel bars.
It's not a bad idea. A lot of people love them. Yeah. And then a cool lobby. It makes you excited about being there.
Exactly.
It feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool environment. Yeah. Someone that's got like a really cool environment in their home that's conducive to a creativity is Rick Rubin. I was watching this tour. Rick Rubin's a friend of mine, and he's a fucking brilliant dude. I mean, just legendary producer, right? But
I'm familiar with him.
He wrote this book on creativity. It's really good. It's really fascinating, but about like what he does to foster creativity, and it's a lot of it is also environment. In his home, there's like a tour of Rick Rubin's Malibu home and studio. So he's got this house, and when you see his house, the way is this it? Yeah, so
another house, but this is his most famous house, the Shangri-La Studio.
Yeah. So the way he has everything set up in his house. So I don't know if this is what I saw.
This is also like 10 years old. I don't know if
I think he's got a new one now. Yeah, this is a long time ago. Rick is kind of a wild man. But he sets things up so that they make him feel a certain way when he goes into rooms.
Remember how I told you I'm a city rat and I just love being in a city?
Yeah.
So I initially had more of kind of a traditional style house. Prior to that, I lived in a high rise.
Maybe this room.
Oh, this is where the decor in me starts coming out. I'm like, I'm an appreciator of good decor. I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the way you set up your environment, like the things that excite you, like when you're walking around, the things you see.
And that's the thing was like aesthetics inspires me. Mm-hmm. Like they do beautiful things inspire me.
Art. Yeah. Obviously, when you see this studio and you walk around, like I'm a big fan of art.
Yeah,
I love it.
And you know what the weird thing about me is, in my place now, there's maybe 2 things on the wall. My house looks unlived in. And the reason is because I'm so specific. Like, I can't tell you art-wise what I want. I have to see it.
Oh, okay.
And when I see it, I know it. I won't be able to explain it. I know it. So, and it's not like super deep shit. Like recently, I bought this big, gigantic canvas of a top-down view of a 930 Porsche Turbo. Right, so you can see the hips kind of flare out a little bit and stuff like that. I saw it and I was just online. I was just at home, just hanging out on the couch, and I saw it and I was like, that, because it evoked a certain emotion in me that I'm like, when I look at that and I see that, that's gonna inspire me, to a degree, right? I'm sounding very like hairy fairy, but nonetheless, it is what it is. The problem is like I don't run across things visually or often enough where I'm like, okay, I want to put that in my home. And when I do, it's usually like something that somebody already has, so there isn't another one.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? And I will not just put anything up for the sake of just putting it up, because I want to walk into my place and I want it to mean something to me when I see it.
Well, a lack of things is also something.
True.
You know, like sometimes there's a lot of serenity in an empty room, which is like a couch and a table. You know, there's something about that too. And maybe one piece of art on the wall is better than five pieces of art, or a wall filled with art.
That is true.
Yeah.
But there is something. But then there's also that mental playground when you do have, and I think that's what you have here.
Yeah.
Right. Because I walk in, it's like nothing. Every time I look, something looks different. Right. And it works. It's like this beautiful controlled chaos that just works because it's chaotic but yet uniform. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's cultivated chaos.
Yeah. And I love it. And lighting. I'm big on lighting. So it's like everything here is I may be wrong about this, but I feel like everything here is designed to kind of lull you like relax you. Essentially,
The
in a
idea
way
is to
that's-
make it comfortable,
Yeah.
but also stimulate
Leading in-
conversation.
exactly.
I want a lot of different weird shit on the table,
Yeah.
like this symbol.
And I've been looking at the back of the spine
chimpanzee
of this
skull.
thing since we got
Yeah.
here.
Well, this is actually a. How old was this again? This is a piece of moose bone that was taken out of the Alaskan tundra. That's from the boneyard in Alaska.
How do you say moose plural?
Moose.
Moose. Okay.
Yeah.
So moose and elk. Fucking beautiful creatures,
Yeah.
man. Like you have to see them in person.
Right.
You have to.
Yeah.
They are stunning in person. Like
Yeah.
I just that's all I wanted to say because I did my elk hunt not too long ago, and I remember we came across them twice. So and when you come face to face with them in the wild,
Yeah.
it's just different.
It's amazing.
Yeah, they're beautiful, man.
Yeah.
They are absolutely stunning. And I've never seen a moose in person, but I can.
Bro, they don't even look real.
Really?
The first time I saw one was in British Columbia, and the first time I saw it, it was like the scene in Jurassic Park where Jeff Goldblum gets out of the Jeep and he's like, "What the? They're so big they don't look real. They're so big they don't look real.
Gotcha.
It's
Yeah.
double the size of an elk.
Really?
Double.
Damn.
Double. Easy.
And
Yeah.
I was blown away by how. But the word I'm looking for is, so agile and light-footed elk
Yeah.
are. Because we stumbled on my hunt. We accidentally stumbled on one. He didn't know we were there. We didn't know he was there until we knew each other was there.
Right.
I've never seen anything move so fast through thick brush.
Yeah.
Without making a sound.
Also with giant antlers.
It made Joe.
Yeah.
I'm talking thick brush. Didn't make a sound when it took off.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is real.
They're,
So I was
they're
like,
designed for it. Yeah. And they're also designed to get away from predators. Look at the size of that moose. I lived in, what does it say? I lived in London for most of my life, so I've never seen a real life moose. Look how much bigger it is in those cars.
God.
Bro, they're so big, you can't believe they're real.
Huge.
And they're aggressive.
Really?
The difference between a moose and other animals is like if you see a deer, they'll run away from you.
Yeah.
You see a moose, they might stomp you to death. If you're close enough that they don't like it, they'll come at you. Yeah, because they're used to fighting off wolves. They're stompers.
Gotcha.
They're stompers.
Okay. You know, I saw an elephant take on a what was it going? I think it was a rhino.
You saw it live?
No, fuck no. I saw it on the internet. Yeah, and I'm like, and I've started to realize elephants are not to be messed with,
Not to be fucked
like
with.
at all.
No.
Like they seem kind of passive. They're not.
Well, they're passive if they don't need to be aggressive. Here it is. Elephant fucks up this rhino. Well, they're so much bigger. I mean, it's like a sumo wrestler versus a high
basically,
school fucking 134 pounder.
But when I first saw them face off, I thought the rhino was going to get the best of them because of the long ass horn.
Nah, that horn ain't shit.
Yeah, clearly.
And that's also an elephant with small tusks.
Yeah, I know.
Which, by the way, the sad thing is elephants genetically, they're starting to have smaller and smaller tusks because of the evolutionary aspect of the fact that people want them for their tusks. So their tusks are actually growing smaller.
To be less desirable.
Yeah, which is crazy that's how evolution works. That it works over that small of a period of time.
That is kind of nutty.
Yeah.
That is actually really nutty.
It is. There's a documentary that I watched from the BBC once on the Congo, and it's so fascinating because the Congo at one point in time was grasslands, and then a rainforest emerged as the climate shifted. And when the climate shifted, these savanna animals got trapped in this jungle. So you have like gazelles and antelope and
Inside of a jungle.
there's an antelope, I think it's called a duiker, that swims underwater for like 100 yards and eats fish.
Antelope.
Yeah, little tiny antelope. Swims underwater. They're evolving to swim underwater. There's fish that come out of the ground and they walk till they find the next water. So like they're literally like evolving in front of our eyes. They're changing their behavior characteristics, and then what's
Or is that
a natural
radio-
advantage?
Is that radioactive?
No, I don't think so.
I'm being
Yeah, that's in some places.
You know another thing is beautiful to watch move in their environment? Are snow leopards.
Oh yeah. Isn't it wild that a cat that lives in the snow? You think of cats, you think of the jungle, right?
And then the funny thing is, it's like you think like they call it a leopard, but I'm like that thing looks like a lion.
It's weird.
Like, not a lion, a tiger.
Yeah.
I was like, that thing looks like a tiger.
Crazy big paws,
Yeah.
like snowshoes,
Yeah.
so they can run through the snow easier.
And then
Yeah.
watching them just chase the mountain goats all up and down the mountain, like
Yeah.
and do it with such fluidity, it's just like it's insane to me.
I saw lynx in Canada once in the wild. This wild looking thing, man. Lynx are crazy looking. They just don't
Really?
look like they belong there. And they make the nuttiest noises. They stand in front of each other and they scream at each other. They like get face to face and they're screaming at each other.
What?
Yeah, there's videos of these lynx that are standing in front of each other. It's they get like real close to here.
You know that's
check
going to
this
become
out.
a meme, right?
Yeah, check this out. Look at these guys. Look, they just scream at each other's faces. Then they just get real close to each other and they don't do anything. They're like, bitch, this is my spot!
Who runs into this?
Isn't that what? Isn't that nuts?
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
Okay, there's this video.
Look at their feet, man. Look at their feet. Don't get too close, bitch. I'll slap you. But they don't fight. Look, because they know that getting injured is so
it's
fucking
pretty
deadly.
Much, it's a death sentence.
Yeah, you break your leg or you get your eye scratched out. That's it.
It reminds me of this video I saw on Instagram where it's like all these women at like some retreat and they're like moving crazy and screaming and like, ah!
On those women empowerment retreats. Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah, what the fuck did
Yeah,
you just
and then I
watch?
watched it again.
Yeah.
And then I watched it again. I couldn't take my eyes away from it. It was
That
hilarious.
always seems like someone's got some scam running. They're like,
I mean,
I'm
yeah,
going to
I
show
mean-
you how to be powerful. You're just going to scream at each
To me,
other.
it just demonstrates how.
Imagine men doing that. Getting together. I'm sure they do. I'm sure
I'm
there's
positive they do.
some male retreat, like probably organized by a gay guy trying to fuck these dudes. And they get them all together in the fucking jungle and just yell. We're gonna yell. We're gonna yell naked.
I think it's the most brutal demonstration of how good your life is.
Right. Right. And you don't have to
like,
do that.
Yeah, that's the extent of your problem.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah,
Well,
hey, it
there's
is
so
what
many
it is.
men out there that don't know how to be a man. They don't know what to do. And they feel lost and disconnected, and they wish they were something they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So those guys are like super susceptible to these like how to be a man. Like
Yeah,
things.
it's definitely, you know, there's a fine line between, you know, what it is to be a man and then the caricature of what it is to be a man.
right.
I was more or less raised by a single parent mother. But I know now as an adult, she overcompensated in a lot of ways because she knew she was having to raise a man. And the way she did it was she wasn't hard on me brutally, but it was enough where she forced me to do things on my own. But then also what she did is she made sure that she had male influences in my life that I would take after. Now, at the time, I didn't understand what was going on. I'm like, why do you want me to go see Dr. Johnson? I don't want to go talk to Dr. Johnson, right?
Right.
And Dr. Johnson was this cardiologist who she would force me to go talk to and be around.
That's very wise of your mother, though.
Yeah, she's freaking phenomenal. I should be inherently fucked up. Flat out. But because of her, I'm not.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing that she was wise enough to see that and to recognize that and to act on it. You
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
Because if you don't, it's too late.
Pretty much.
You let
yeah.
that guy get to adulthood and
it's-
you can't influence him then.
Yeah.
It's very hard to take a fucked up grown adult and then turn him around.
And I think the beautiful thing I'm glad she didn't do with me that I've seen sometimes with single parents sometimes is she didn't baby me in a manner in which, like, she understood her limitations as a woman. So she knew she had to have male influence to some degree.
Yeah.
So she was very cautious about, if my mom happened to be a hoe, I would never know. Because she did such a phenomenal job in curating whoever it was that was going to be around me that was a man. And that influence and how much that played a part in me growing up. Because I think she understood I can only do so much as a woman to teach this guy how to be a man. And now when I think about things and how I compose and how I handle myself, I subconsciously think about those individuals who I interacted with. And that's what I pulled from growing up. And so I thank her for that. at least knowing her limitations from that standpoint, and then figuring out a way to provide that example for me.
Yeah, that's very important. It's very important. I got very fortunate that when I was young, I got involved in martial arts when I was really young.
Same here. I did too. I didn't continue with it to the degree that you did, but I definitely. And for me, what that martial arts turned into basketball for me. And that's what that was.
Well, it's anything that's difficult to do. Things are difficult where it's undeniable that the work you put in equals how much better you get. Period.
Yep.
There's certain genetic advantages, but even with those genetic advantages, the more work you put in, the more results you will get. And there's other people with genetic advantages too.
Yep.
And then when you're competing, then you're competing against a bunch of people that are driven and they have a much higher standard. And that's what athletics provides a lot of people.
People like to this day, I pull from my experiences playing basketball. Because when I was younger, like it's funny to say now because like as an adult, you're like you're not going to the NBA, Collins. Like it's not happening. But nobody could tell me that I wasn't.
Right.
No one. And I worked like that's what I was gonna do. I put in the effort. I put in the work. No one was gonna outwork me for that. And because of it, all of the struggle, everything I did from that point to now, I still pull from that because it set a pattern of behavior in me. So all I did was when I realized your hoop dreams aren't happening, I just transferred that drive, that consistency, that discipline, and I just transferred over to what I was doing next. Right?
Yes.
And I just continue to do that. Whatever I change or I switch up to and start doing next, that's what I put it into.
Yeah. That's what I was taught. I was taught when I was young that martial arts are a vehicle for developing your human potential. And if you could figure out how to get good at this, you can figure out how to get good at pretty much everything.
Yeah. I think that's the one thing I regret is not living longer in martial arts. Because I think I have a brutal amount of respect for any individual who can perfect their craft in that space. I think fighters are some of the toughest people on the planet because...
Which is by virtue of what they do. They have to be.
Exactly.
That is what they do. They do one of the toughest things to do. You're willingly going against a trained individual who has spent time preparing for you.
Literally.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, oh, I'm out and about and I got caught off guard and and I can take advantage of the fact that he doesn't know. This is like, I'm coming to kill you. Not literally, but I'm coming to kill you. You're coming to kill me. Yeah.
You got press conferences. Yep. You're talking shit to each other, getting all ramped up emotionally. Yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean, that's also why it's so exciting to see. Yeah, because you're seeing like, oh my God, these guys have been getting ready for this forever. Here we go. When you see two dudes just looking at each other across the octagon, they're staring at each other, getting ready to go. Fuck, just the tension in the air is so crazy.
And what's crazy is like you can be on top of the world 1, 2, 3 fights in, and then. Yep. In 2 seconds, just like that. Yep. Everything comes crashing down. Yeah. And so then now you have to figure out how to pick those pieces back up because there's very small room for there's very little margin of error to come back from a loss.
And the crazy thing is, a lot of times fighters are at the peak of their ability, and then they have one loss and they fall off a cliff. That's like Tony Ferguson is the greatest example of that. He was the scariest fucking guy in the 155-pound division until he wasn't. Yeah. And then he loses to Justin Gaethje, and then he goes on like a 7-fight losing streak. It's crazy because for years, no one can touch him. Yeah. For years, he was literally the boogeyman. Everyone was scared of that dude.
And the crazy thing is like with UFC fighting, like there's no one way to be the best. Right. Because like there's so much going on in a fight that like one lapse in focus. Yeah. That split-second lapse in focus. Fight's done. Yep. Done. Right? And you could be perfect in everything else. Yep. Just like that.
That's Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards. Kamaru's dominating for the whole fight, and then in the 5th round with like a minute to go, gets head kicked into the shadow realm. And it's crazy. And then Kamaru loses the next fight, and then he loses the fight after that. So Kamaru's this like unbelievably dominant champion. Yeah. And then just like one head kick. Yeah. That's,
man.
I mean, he's still in the hunt. I mean, he could still come back. He had a really good fight in his last fight against Khamzat Chimaev, but, he lost. And then here you are, 3 losses in a row.
what you do with that loss is everything. Mm-hmm. It's literally everything, and it's probably way harder than any fight that you've actually been in.
And then there's the reality of your body. Your body can only take so much of that before it just starts to fail. And Kamaru, one of the things that I really admire about him, he's so open and honest about his injuries. Mm-hmm. Like his knees are so fucked up. He can't run. He doesn't walk downstairs. He goes backwards downstairs.
We need to send him to Ben.
To Ben?
Knees over toes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that would help a little, but I'm sure he's probably doing that stuff. He has no cartilage in his knees. His knees are destroyed.
Gotcha.
I mean, they're destroyed. They're bone on bone. He's resigned himself to this thing that at one point, if you look at Kamaru's body, his upper body looks like a fucking superhero, but he has these small legs.
Gotcha.
His legs are so small compared to his upper body, and part of that is because his knees are destroyed.
Gotcha.
There's only so much he can do with his legs.
The funny thing is, like I'm the opposite. My legs are too damn big. I hate them, dude.
What do you hate your legs?
They're too big.
What are you talking
They're
about?
too big. Like
How
they're
are
just like I have big legs. I have big calves. I've always been like ever since like I was young. They used to call me calves, like because my calves are so big.
That's great genetics, man.
Yeah,
you should have been a kickboxer.
I mean,
it's a giant advantage.
I mean, probably so, but it's a little too late now.
It's not too late to train.
Yeah, no, and I did. I was training at Fortis for a period of time.
Oh, were you really?
Yeah, me and Safe are really good friends.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that dude.
Yeah,
I love that gym too. That's a great fucking gym.
Honestly, during COVID, it was my refuge.
Yeah?
That gym was my refuge during COVID, dude. I mean, and I was going through some dark times in that gym. Hell, Safe. That gym was my refuge.
Shout out to Safe Saeed.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He's a great coach too.
Yeah, no, he is.
Fucking
should I see him doing that gym? Man,
he's so
amazing.
good in the corner. There's like a sign of a great coach is the way they give advice in between rounds. And that guy is precise. Yep. He's technical. He's motivating. He's intense. He lets you know exactly what the fuck. He's not going to sugarcoat shit.
It's not just the ring, bro.
I'm sure.
Yeah, like when me and Safe talk.
Yeah,
we're talking.
Yeah.
He's
intense.
Yeah.
But that's how you become a great coach.
Yeah.
You know, you understand things for what they really are, and this is what you have to do, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
You know, it's funny. I don't know if he wants me to tell this story, but sorry, bro. I mean, it's not that big a deal, but like the way we met, I met him at a gun range. So I met him at a gun range, and then I figured it was a good time for me to get into fighting again. So I called him up. I was like, "Hey, I'm good with the gun stuff, but it means nothing if I can't work my hands, right?" So I called him, went to the gym, kind of did the first, showed me the lay of the land, and then he got a notification on his phone that his alarm was going off, and like somebody was breaking into his house. And he was like, and we just met, but he knew who I was in the space that I'm in, and he was like, "Dude, something's going on in my house. I need to figure out what's going on." He's like, "You want to roll with me?"
Oh shit!
Yeah, so we hop in his truck, we drive to his house, and we cleared his house.
Oh shit!
I don't know if you want me to tell the story, or if I did, I'm sorry. But yeah, like and then from there we just became best friends. Like after that, it was like we went shooting together.
But dude is willing to come clear your house with you.
I mean,
that's a ride or die right there. I mean, that is the scariest situation ever. You don't know what's in your house. You go any room could be filled with a guy with a gun.
Yep.
You literally don't
don't. Now, was it the smartest thing to probably do? No, but I think it was one of those situations you don't think you just go.
Yeah.
You just go. And I've done it in my house before where like I've gotten home, and this is a little on the lower end of intensity, but sometimes that garage door is cracked open when you get back, and you're like, what the fuck? And you're like, I know I closed that door. Right. And then it's like, all right, let's figure this out. Now I'm clearing my house.
Well,
right?
the reality of crime and the reality of violence is something that you can't just fucking bury your head in the sand about. It doesn't mean you have to be a violent person or a terrible person, and you're clearly not. You're a very nice guy, but you are very well trained. You know what to do with weapons.
Yeah.
And that will, if the shit hits the fan one day, that will serve you well.
Yeah, and I mean, and God forbid that ever happen. I pray it. Look, I carry a gun every single day, as long as I can legally.
Praying that you never have to use it.
Praying. If I ever have to use my gun in self-defense, I'm gonna have to get therapy.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah,
right.
Probably.
But that's just it. I don't want to have to.
Exactly.
But I much more don't want to find myself in a situation where I have to, but I can't do anything about it because I don't have the thing I need to do
Or
it.
you can't protect someone you love, which is even more
Even
terrifying.
worse.
Where
Exactly.
You watch something happen, there's nothing you could do about it.
Like,
Bro, kind of unrelated, but did you see this fucking thing that happened in California where this woman stabbed her boyfriend 108 times and they let her go with community service?
Wait.
They said that she was psychotic from smoking marijuana, which is,
so I don't smoke.
by the way,
Smoke.
I've been smoking a long time. I ain't never thought about stabbing one person ever. Forget about someone that you're in a relationship with 108 times. And
that's something else.
The judge said that the defense was that she had a psychotic break from, I think it was one hit.
So I had a bad panic attack from one hit.
Yeah, you
But-
can have a panic
yeah,
attack
but-
with some strong, especially if you're not a regular smoker.
No, I wasn't.
Was it a bong hit or a joint?
It was a joint. What it was it was my first time actually inhaling.
You went Bill Clinton the way before?
No,
That's
seriously.
what-
And all I remember, I couldn't stop coughing.
Oh,
not realizing
yeah.
each cough is just sending more
Oh,
THC into my
yeah.
system.
Yeah.
And that was that was me really smoking for the first
Yeah.
time. And let's just say, all I remember, I'm sitting on a couch having a massive panic attack, watching Eddie Murphy Raw. and how I knew I was fucked up was I've watched Raw multiple times and never have I not laughed my ass off. And I remember sitting there
You were just
watching it,
freaking out.
and I was like, "This is not funny. This is not." And I was like, "Oh, dude, something's wrong with you, dude." I was like, "Something's wrong with you."
You were just freaking out. Yeah, you can freak out, man.
Yeah.
So this is the story.
I mean, it just said that this New York Post said it was just really strong weed, 30% weed.
Whatever. One hit. She stabbed her boyfriend 108 times. I don't care if she took 18 bong hits.
And herself and the dog.
What?
Well, maybe there's something wrong with her, and she
Yeah.
shouldn't get fucking community service.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Dog, and then herself.
She stabbed her
repeatedly.
dog and then stabbed herself repeatedly after deputies were called to their apartment. Okay, first of all, when people kill people, they often kill themselves. This happens to men who kill their girlfriends or their ex-girlfriends. Oftentimes they'll shoot themselves. It happens all the time.
She found out he was cheating.
Well, whatever it was. The whole thing is she received just 2 years of probation, 100 hours of community service, and no prison time.
I would believe that more if it was alcohol.
Even alcohol doesn't make any.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
It would
Like,
have to
I
be
would-
like crystal meth mixed with with fucking
PCP,
angel dust.
yeah.
It's just, the lawyers were asked to describe the difference in her case and a fatal drunken driving crash, which Goldstein chalked up to awareness, noting that. I don't know how you say her name. Whatever her last name is, did not know what she was getting herself into, as O'Melia provided the pot but did not show her the warning on the label. What? As far as the DUI is concerned, that person knowingly and consciously drinks to excess and decides to get behind the wheel of a car. In Mrs. whatever her name is case, she took a hit of what she believed to be a legal consumer product in the sanctity of Mr. O'Malia's home as they sat on his couch with no plans to go drive home later that evening.
43 times in her neck, she stabbed herself.
She stabbed herself 43 times in the neck. Oh, my God. Well, that's the marks on her neck? Doesn't look like she really tried that hard. Well, listen, people try to kill themselves after they kill somebody. Look, if you're lying there and your boyfriend is
Just
got 108
you're
stab
forced-
wounds and you're like,
yeah.
oh, my God, my life is over. I'm going to jail for the rest of my life.
But why the dog?
Because she's fucking just an angry lady. I mean,
I
why
think
did she?
I think
why
she
did
just had a psychotic break, and I don't think it was the weed.
Who knows?
I think
but,
she found out something she did not want to find out.
It
and
could
she
be.
just snapped.
But it might not be that. I mean, she might be fucking legitimately crazy. But either way, 2 hour or 100 hours of community service and 2 years of
Yeah,
probation
that's
is fucking
yeah,
nuts.
I
You just
mean,
killed somebody.
yeah.
Imagine the roles reversed. Imagine if it was a man who stabbed his wife 100 or his girlfriend 108 times
He'd
and then
be
stabbed
under
the
the
dog.
jail.
He'd be under the jail.
Yeah.
Death sentence. Experts for both the defense and the prosecution concluded the pot she smoked caused her to slip into a psychotic state. Now, here's the story. You can have psychotic breaks from marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
It is possible. It's possible to have schizophrenic breaks from marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
It's well documented with certain people that have
Predisposition.
yes.
Yeah.
So, but either way, it doesn't make any sense. Marijuana is not a violent drug.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of drug that makes you
you-
want to hurt somebody.
And keep in mind, this is coming from somebody who does not like marijuana.
Yeah.
At all. I don't believe that.
It sounds insane.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
It sounds
I don't.
insane.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot more to that story.
Yeah. Very much so. Very, very, very much so.
She stabbed herself in the neck. Like, Jesus
that's
Christ.
crazy. That's
But
And deputies used a stun gun on her 4 times, and another deputy hit her with the metal baton multiple times before knocking the knife out of her hand.
while she was stabbing herself or him?
I guess herself. It just didn't say who she was
She
stabbing.
might have started stabbing herself when the cops showed up, too. Like, who knows?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the whole thing is nuts.
I mean, but then again, I've seen I watched a video on the way up here. I didn't watch it. I was listening to it while I was driving on the way up here, and like it was this girl. I guess she was drunk or something, and the cops were trying to arrest her, and she completely lost it. I mean, screaming at the top of her lungs, complete psychotic breakdown.
Yeah.
Just to avoid accountability of the fact that she was driving drunk. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's
There's some people that are out of their fucking minds, but I just don't think 2 years of probation is enough for
no.
that.
I mean, I think
that
that's
sounds insane.
I think that goes without saying.
it sounds so insane
goes
that the
without
judge
saying.
said that.
Yeah.
But
I want to see the judge. I want to talk to the judge.
Whoa, hold on, too. They
What?
were only dating for 3 weeks.
oh my god! So even if you cheated on her, what
Yeah,
the
that
fuck?
wouldn't-
That doesn't even
yeah,
make any
that
sense.
wouldn't warrant that,
Dating
yeah.
each other for about 3 weeks.
Wow. She worked as an audiologist. What is that?
Sound.
And the dude was an accountant. Maybe she stabbed him because he's boring. It's a horrible tragedy all the way around. Swartz said, "It's a tragedy for the victim and his family. It's a tragedy for my client and her family." Yeah. Well, it's certainly a tragedy. But high potency marijuana should put you in a place where you're terrified of everything. You just want to
exactly.
Not that you have the ability to grab a knife and stab a guy 108 times. That sounds nuts. That sounds so nuts.
And it said in September they'd got the murder charge dropped to involuntary manslaughter after it was determined she lost her cognitive abilities because she was in the throes of psychosis.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, I just don't think that absolves you of responsibility. You know, the thing about it is, there's no way to know what was going on in her head, which is the thing. Like, a friend of mine sent me a video. Tim Dillon sent me this video of these schizophrenics in downtown LA. Mm-hmm. It's so crazy. There's so many of them, and all these different people are walking on the street just screaming at people who aren't there and just yelling into the sky.
I had my old place in Dallas. I had a guy, I call him Richie. I don't really know his name. I just call him that because he likes to stand outside my door and just have loud conversations with himself. Like he would do. It wasn't like all the time, but it'd be like once every 3 or 4 months, and he would just be standing. I don't know why he picked my door to do it. I don't know. I never engaged with them or interacted with them. I would just hear him out open window. I'm like, there goes Richie. But yeah,
the mind is so weird.
It is.
It's like just the fact that a human being, forget about under the state of marijuana, PCP, whatever. Just the fact that there's something, if you've never stabbed anyone before, there's something that someone can give you that can motivate you to do that. Where you've never done that before, you never stabbed anybody, and then all of a sudden you stab some guy you've been dating 108 times. The mind is just so weird.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier while we were at the range about Instagram and about the shit you see on Instagram these days. And we were talking about how when we were kids, Faces of Death was the wildest thing we'd ever seen.
Yep.
And it was
nothing compared to what you see on Instagram.
Nothing.
You can go on Instagram and see 1,150. I'm about to get in my soapbox, right?
Yeah, please.
You can go on Instagram and watch 1,150 million people get stabbed, shot, killed, thrown off buildings, and it'll show up on your Explore page.
Right.
I post a picture of a gun. I'm throttled. I don't show up on the Explore page.
Seen
Nothing.
a gun on my Explore page.
The level of it's not even. I don't even call it shadow banning anymore. They tell you they're doing it. Mm-hmm. Like I can't post. I even not post guns. This is the responsible way to handle a firearm. Throttled.
Yeah, no. Wow.
Throttled. Like it's insane on Instagram. Like what Instagram is doing to the gun community is monumentally insane. So you know what the fucked up part about it is? Because of the way they are about that, the only representation of firearms that you're going to get exposed to, generally speaking, if you're not already following them, are the negative representations of firearms or the unsafe way to handle a firearm.
Yes.
Because those are making it. But the shit that we post, the responsible shit, that doesn't.
Bro, how many videos have you seen of dudes in like traditional Arab attire, shooting the guns off in the air, and then they accidentally shoot their friend.
Dude.
There's so many of those.
You see way more of
They're
those.
just dancing, da 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 da, bang! Dude gets it in the head.
Dude, you want to know how
I've seen so many of those.
You want to know how I learned gun safety when I got into guns?
Sure.
Fucking YouTube. Because there were so many examples of people when I got into guns and I got into the gun community, there were so many people who were iterating over and over and over again. Check your gun, make sure it's clear, never point it at something you're not willing to destroy. Guns are always loaded at all times, no matter what. It became ingrained in my brain.
Yes.
Like they almost shamed you into gun safety.
Well, one of the things today was a very good representation of that. Everyone today had responsible gun safety habits. Everyone today. Everyone was pointing the gun at the ground. Everyone's clearing the gun. No one ever pointed a gun in the direction of someone. People were constantly checking. Even after they cleared the gun.
There were literally probably 25 guns out there.
Yeah.
And magazines all over the place.
All over the place.
But like I said, it's establishing that safety dynamic.
Yes.
And you can't, and they talk about, oh man, I'm getting on my soapbox.
Get on
They
it.
talk about, the other side talks about this idea of gun safety, firearm safety. And the way they go about doing it is by blocking off all the people who are teaching the safe way to handle a firearm. I don't understand this. If you want to have a population, we have 400 million guns in this country. The guns aren't going anywhere. So if you want to minimize the number of kids who accidentally shoot themselves, if you want to minimize the number of adults who handle firearms incorrectly and end up accidentally shooting someone, what you need to do is allow the information of how to safely handle a firearm be spread to the public so that they understand it. It works because that's how I learned it. No one came to me and said, this is the safe way to do it. I went online, I was learning about firearms, and I learned from the people who are handling them responsibly how to responsibly handle a firearm.
Yes.
And as a result, I started creating videos and I started teaching people how to responsibly handle firearms. And then those people will start making their own videos and teaching people how to responsibly handle firearms. But instead, what we're getting with the dynamic of social media nowadays is they are trying to shut down all of the people who are demonstrating how to handle a firearm responsibly, or even just talking about the law aspect of it. So do you want people running around out there who don't understand the legal aspect of owning a firearm? Or how, when you actually decide to carry a firearm, when is a good time not to shoot? When is a good time to shoot? No, instead they shadow ban and block all of our content and only leave the negative representation out there and then wonder why all of these accidental shootings continue to happen.
And the negative ones find their way into my feed all the time from people that I don't follow.
Exactly.
So they must know what we were talking about today about that thing that you click on that says, do you still want to watch this? This could be disturbing. So they know.
No, they know about it.
They know.
Yeah.
I watched a guy get cut in half by a train today. They were fucking around on the train station. The guy pushes his friend, and the train comes, and his friend goes in between the train and the crack and gets ripped apart. The guys grab his arms, they pull him, and it's just guts out of a torso. Jesus. And everyone's screaming. It's horrible. And it just showed up on my Instagram.
Feed. Yep, I see it all the time.
So if they have that warning, they must know what that is. Yeah. Does TikTok, I'm not on TikTok.
They banned me.
But they banned you?
Just for showing guns.
Wow.
Just for showing guns.
Does TikTok show violence? Do they have that kind of violence?
I don't know, honestly, because
you're banned.
Because I was, and the fucked up thing about it is this. Like when I started the TikTok page, and you remember, TikTok is a younger audience. So
what's it skewed towards?
It's skewed to teens.
Teens.
Yeah. So, but the thing about it is I can go on TikTok and watch girls engaged in suggestive sexual behavior all day long on TikTok.
Right. Right.
And I'm like, but anything with a firearm, regardless whether it's safe or not, they just banned me. Just flat out. And I'm like, what did I do exactly here?
Is that anyone on TikTok that shows firearms, or is it everyone gets banned?
I'm assuming so. I don't know because I can't peruse it and figure out what else is on there, because even when I tried to appeal this decision, and then it just reaffirmed it. And so it's one of those things that's very frustrating. The funny thing is like X, which I know you don't like it being called X, but you know, X don't have that problem.
They don't. Well, they let porn on.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah.
That's the Wild West over there.
But freedom of speech.
I mean, listen, I'm not against it. You do whatever you want. I like the internet. I like the actual internet. I like people being able to show what they're interested in.
Yeah.
As long as you're not victimizing someone, as long as you're not doxing people, threatening, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But other than the things that are illegal and should be, you should be able to show whatever the fuck you want. And if there's an active gun community, and especially someone like you that promotes responsible gun use and shows people how to handle things correctly.
It says you can on TikTok. This is their policy on guns.
They do not allow the trade of firearms or explosive weapons or content showing or promoting them if they are not used in a safe or appropriate setting. Well, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
TikTok can be a place that educates people on the responsible use and ownership of weapons.
No, they do
Well, that's
not
not
allow that
true.
shit. Nope, that's not true.
Because
at all.
everything you do is responsible.
Exactly.
I've seen 50 of your fucking videos. I've never seen one irresponsible video.
It's insane.
Firearms and explosive weapons can cause severe injury or death, especially when used in an unsafe manner. Exactly. But what you were saying is so important to hear, that if you don't see the responsible use of it from someone who knows how to do it and also knows how to teach people that, how is that message going to get out there? That's how people learn how to use them correctly.
But here we are.
Here we are.
You know, irony is at least, like, YouTube has its problems, but they're getting better. They're getting better with it. At least YouTube will guide you on, okay, this is what we're okay with and this is what we're not okay with. And then even if they get it wrong, they'll fix it.
So does YouTube demonetize any of your videos?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time.
Now, I can appeal it, right, and submit it for a manual review. And then sometimes, like, I have 2 videos right now that are under manual review. And sometimes they're like, yeah, sometimes they're like, no.
And what is their objection to what's in those videos?
It's all over the place, honestly. It can be like display of extreme violence, right? So like I have a series called Defensive Gun Use, where I talk about stories where people who conceal carry use guns to defend their lives, right? Because one of the narratives from the other side is that not that many people use guns in self-defense, when we all know that's absolutely not true. So what I've started doing was aggregating a lot of those stories and talking about them, and in whatever context or angle I have to talk about whatever aspect. Like, for instance, there was a guy at the gas station recently who shot the robber who robbed another guy at gunpoint, right? And so when I talk about it from that standpoint, and that, you know, with Texas, you can you can defend a third party's property with lethal force under certain contexts, right? And so I go and explain those contexts. The point of me doing that, and then in the same video I said, but be careful, not only in the defense of third parties' property, but also in defending third parties. Make sure if you're going to do something like that, you truly understand the context of what's happening, because you may think somebody is the aggressor when in reality they're the victim. Right. So if you're gonna do that, you need to be absolutely positive.
Right.
You know who the aggressor is.
Like if you stumble upon someone who's beating someone's ass, that person might have attacked that person.
Exactly.
And the person might know how to fight. And then they've got the guy on the ground. They're pounding on him, and then you shoot him.
Shoot him, exactly. And a lot of people don't think about those things, not because they're stupid, but because they just may be new to carrying a firearm, and they don't understand that could be a context that they find themselves in.
Well, that's context of arguments too. Like you can stumble into an argument in the middle of someone screaming at someone. You're like, "Hey man, fuck you," but you don't know what happened before that.
You don't. And so, but for us being able to have those type of conversations in a safe place, like online beforehand, now when somebody who watches a video like that, they can watch the video, and then they go out and they go, oh, I remember when so-and-so did a video on this. Okay, maybe before, they may have jumped the gun had they not watched that video. But watching the video, they took an extra step to say, okay, and assess the situation for what it is, and then realize, oh, I read that wrong. Or I had a follower of mine, I had him on my podcast, my virtual podcast that I do for the gun side of things. And he told me I saved his life. My video saved his life. And he said the reason why my video saved his life is because for the longest time, he didn't carry with a round in the chamber. And a lot of people I know don't carry around in the chamber. A lot of my friends don't carry with a round in the chamber. And I started off carrying a gun without carrying a round in the chamber because I felt unsafe doing it. And I understand that dynamic, because it's a loaded gun that you're putting in your, like, God forbid you carry appendix like I do. It's
pointed at your dick.
It's pointing at your dick, right? But I expressed that, look, if you're not going to carry it around in a chamber, at least understand the limitations that come with it. Because there are some limitations that come with it. You're not going to be able to get your gun as fast if a situation happens quickly. So you need to understand it. So that what does that mean? That means that when you're out and about, you need to be more situationally aware. Probably a little bit more so than, say, someone like me, because I can get to my gun in under a second. It might take you 2 or 3. So it's talking through those type of dynamics. And so after he watched the video, he kind of did an experiment that I said, carry without a round in the chamber for a period of time, and then see how often that gun is accidentally engaged. And you'll start to realize that as long as you have a couple of things, you'll be fine. A good holster and a good belt. If you carry in that manner, you like to carry in your fanny pack, that's a different story. But, but like, for instance, like.
Not always.
Yeah, okay, exactly.
Yeah.
So like, and then with how dynamic life is, right? There's so many different ways to carry, right? But not a lot of people know how to do this. So for instance, like I'm in sweats a lot of the time, right? So I've my experiences, because I have access to so many different guns and so many different holsters, I'm able to experiment. So I'm like, okay, I'm in sweats a lot, I'm in joggers a lot. What can I do to carry a firearm in a relatively secure way, safely, and not have to worry about it flopping around, for instance, right? So like, for instance, like these joggers I'm wearing now from Arrowhead Tactical, right?
That's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
That company.
They make joggers specifically for concealed carry.
Yeah, so I have some of those.
Exactly. I know,
Right.
and I love them. Like I'm trying out their new shit now, and you wouldn't know about that otherwise. I know people who carry in sweats and they just stick the gun in there,
Right.
and they don't know any better.
Right.
Right. So it's that type of information that our videos are providing, but at the same time,
How did it save that dude's life?
Oh, gotcha. So as far as saving his life, what he said was after he watched the video, he started carrying with a round in the chamber. And I can't remember if he said a couple of weeks ago, a couple of weeks later. He's a jeweler, and so as a jeweler, he was selling some jewelry to someone, and then it was actually a setup, and there were guys who were coming. They were trying to rob him. So the guys came to rob him, and because he had a round in the chamber and the other guy didn't, when he was getting ready to pull out, when he was pulling out his gun was already pulled. And he had a round in the chamber, so he was able to shoot the guy, neutralize him, and get gone.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I did. I mean, I had him on he does a better job of explaining the
That's
details.
a split-second
Yeah.
difference
I mean,
between
exactly.
and boom.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
it's in fractions of a second is what matters in self-defense
Especially if you're a
situations.
jeweler. Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, he was like, your video saved my life. Now, I'm not going to take the credit for that. I mean, you made the decision yourself that you felt comfortable with, and that's what you did. But the information he had to get to that point is what was important.
What do you know about the reality of accidental discharge with a P320?
So, here's my understanding of the P320, because I've heard different things, right?
Me too. But there's so many stories
There
online.
are, because I carry a SIG that is in the lineup of my carry rotation of guns, right? So I clearly
Which one?
The P365.
Okay, the smaller one.
No, actually the P3, the P365.
The macro,
the
or
macro, the macro,
the
big
one with the larger handle, more rounds.
Yes. So I still carry that one.
It's a great gun.
Yeah, love it.
It's so small.
It's so small but
perfect.
so big. Yeah, it's
right.
it's
a 9mm, and it has all those rounds.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm big on capacity.
Yes.
That's me. I'm a capacity whore.
You carry it with a dot?
That one, no. All my
it's
other
so slim.
Yeah, because I carry that. I carry that one. I carry the Springfield Hellcat Pro that has a red dot on it. And then of course
Similar size.
Yeah, and then I carry the CS.
The 365 is literally smaller than my hand.
Yeah, but yet has 17 rounds.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. When I put it in my hand, it's smaller than my hand.
Yeah, it's nuts. So that I call that my flight gun. I have guns for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my Vault-Tec case that I have for flying. When you fly with a gun, you have to have it in a TSA approved case.
Mm-hmm.
So that stays in that box. It stays in it. So anytime I travel, because I travel a lot, I already have it there. It's already set up, ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Throw it in my suitcase, and I'm good to go. So that's where I keep. That's the macro is designated for that gun. And then my go-tos are the CS from Staccato or the Springfield Hellcat Pro.
But the 320, does it have the same firing pin setup as a 365?
I don't think so.
Right.
I'm almost positive it doesn't.
So
now they changed it too. They changed it on the 320s after whatever those incidents that they said happened.
How recently?
It was some time ago, actually. It was some time ago. Now, I hear I hear different stories because for every story you hear about the gun going off, there's another story about the person who's claiming it went off actually caused it to go off because they did something inappropriate. Like when they were holstering it, they had a floppy holster and they got into the trigger guard and it went off, right?
Right.
There is one story I hear, there is a story of it dropping, landing a specific way, and then gun going off. And that's when I think, when that first happened, I think that's when they made the change to the 320s.
One of America's favorite handguns is allegedly firing on its owner's Sig Sauer's P320 pistol has wounded more than 80 people.
Again,
So they didn't pull the trigger.
But who are those people?
Right. Well, one of them I watched. There's a video of a cop. Yeah, the cop is in the precinct and he's bending over and it goes off.
So I read into that.
Please.
And I remember reading, I can't get it confirmed, but I remember reading something to the effect of he had, because one of the things with carrying a firearm when you're coming in and out of a holster, you need to make sure there's nothing impeding the entry of that gun into the holster, because what can happen is your shirt can get caught in the trigger,
right?
And when you're putting it in the holster, it creates enough pressure to have the gun go off. It can happen just like that. That's why anytime I go to reholster, I remove my shirt all the way and I pull it out. I pull my holster out and I watch every second of that gun going into the holster. I'm never in a rush to put my gun in the holster. There's no point.
Right.
Because if you're putting the gun up, that means there's no more threat.
Right.
So I'm looking, I'm making sure everything is clear. Sometimes I'll go so far as to take the holster out, put the gun in, then put the holster back on. Because like I said, I'm not.
But this
in a
one
rush
went
to-
off in the holster. It was a duty holster, so it was outside, and so it didn't shoot him. It shot the ground
shot the
next
ground.
to him.
But you could still, I'm not saying this would happen, but you could still have fabric that gets caught in the outside of the waistband holster as well.
But it didn't seem like that was the case.
Say, like, again, I read into it a little bit, and that was a theory that somebody had posed or someone saying that that's what happened. I couldn't confirm whether or not that's true or not. Yeah. But I don't.
There's also guys do things to triggers.
Huh?
They put different triggers on it.
You can do
juice
that.
things
if
up.
you modify your trigger, you can definitely modify it so too far where you can cause the gun not necessarily to go off on its own.
But some guys like very light triggers.
Yeah, but that would just cause the gun to be accidentally automatic, full automatic, right?
Yeah.
And that's very illegal. So from that perspective, but I don't see, but for something getting caught in that trigger guard. This is just me being a gun guy and understanding holsters and how they function. So there's a couple of things that can take place here. Either that holster is not the right holster for that gun, because the holsters are specific to the gun,
Right.
generally speaking, or some piece of material or clothing got caught in there that he wasn't aware of. My mind doesn't know how I can justify or explain how the gun just goes off.
It was also a physical movement that the guy did. Like he bent forward.
Okay, yeah, I remember seeing that video when he bent forward, and that's what makes me think there may have been a piece of material in the actual holster,
Or a janky holster or something.
Possibly.
Something funky.
I remember raking my brain, and I'm like, how could that? What could cause it just to go off on its own?
Right.
Because it's not even like the movement he engaged in was like aggressive enough to cause the gun to just jolt and go. Like, for instance, like if it dropped. Like, I just can't see how that could be the case.
Right.
In all of my years of carrying firearms, and I'm pushing 15 years now, I don't see it. I don't.
But it's
dropping
so
it, if
crazy.
it dropped, then I can see that.
But what's crazy is it's one gun.
That's a good point. Now, that gun is also used in a lot of police departments.
Right, but you don't hear about it from Glocks.
No.
Right? It's
No,
weird.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well,
I've never heard of it.
I have.
Accidental discharge without touching the trigger?
Yeah.
Was anybody doing anything weird with the gun? Because Glock has a 2-stage too.
Yeah, and so is a P320.
Right.
So the weird thing about accidental discharges, they're not accidental. They're negligent. Because generally speaking, because I've heard cops say the gun just went off. No, you pulled the trigger. You didn't realize you pulled the trigger, but you did.
Oh, you mean in a fight or flight situation?
Even just normally. Because you got to think about it. If you take, I've done this test before. Men, women, it doesn't matter. You give a gun to somebody who's never actually handled a gun, what's the first thing they do? If I just
the
hand them a
finger on
gun,
the trigger.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a very natural, instinctive thing to
Yeah.
do. It's not. It's very unnatural to keep your trigger finger off of the gun.
Right.
Your brain's not wired to do that. It's like this is the thing that makes the gun go. Put your finger there.
Yes.
Right. And so a lot of I'm not gonna say. I hesitate to say this because I don't have hard data. I just have anecdotal data.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of cops aren't necessarily gun people. A lot of them never shoot their guns outside of the qualification. So outside of that, I can see situations where a lot of cops think the gun went off on their own, but they just have bad manipulation skills of a firearm because they haven't ingrained it into their stuff. You give me a toy gun, immediately my index finger is going on the side. It's not touching that trigger. You give me a staple gun because I've ingrained it. It's something I've ingrained because I handle firearms so often.
Yeah.
And a lot of cops don't handle firearms as much as people give them credit for.
Right.
Yeah, because they're not all gun guys.
That's the scary thing, right?
Yeah.
If guys are on the job and they don't train.
Yeah, I've known cops that don't like guns. They only carry it because they have to for their job.
How crazy.
Right? But then the person who taught me initially how to shoot, he was a cop, but he's a gun guy.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
big difference.
Yeah. If he told me the gun went off, I'd believe him.
Right.
Right. But I have a hard time believing, and like to answer your question with Glocks, yeah, I've heard cops say, "Oh, the gun just went off," and it's like, no, it didn't. You put your finger on the trigger, you didn't realize
there's
it.
way less, and there's not like P226s
That are happening. Yeah, it's very specific to the
Right.
320s, which I agree with you.
Yeah.
I have 2 or 3 of them, 320s.
I have one.
You have one?
That I
Yeah.
got from Dave Mods. It's nice.
Yeah.
I love it. But every time I touch it, I'm like,
Now I have 4 actually. I have about 4 of them, and I've never had issues. But I'll be honest and say that's not saying a lot because I don't shoot them often.
right.
So me saying that I haven't had issues doesn't really give much credence to anything. But I'm more inclined, like you bring up an excellent point that it's so specific to a specific model
And they
of gun.
did a change.
Yeah. Yes.
That's also very specific.
from a drop standpoint.
right, but there was
Yeah.
something going on
With
with
the
the way it cocks.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what it was. I completely
Has it
forgot about
caused accidental fatalities?
Not that I'm aware of. But I'm trying to think.
Most people that I talk to, I should say this for
Mm-hmm.
for the sake of the company, most people that I've talked to are very skeptical. That are actual gun people.
I mean, you can hear it in my voice.
Yes.
yeah.
And then everybody
Yeah.
I talk to.
Yeah. But
Jack
you-
Carr, all those
but
people that are fans of SIGs,
You do make, because I'm a massive fan of SIG.
they make great guns.
You bring a great point though. The fact that it's exclusive to that
one model.
It's interesting. That said, I don't know. I'm still skeptical enough that I'd still carry a 320.
Right, but
Yeah.
and it's also a thing where it's like, if it really was happening, how was it only 80 people? Right? How many 320s are out there in active duty just with
Yeah,
cops?
yeah.
How many 320s do people have for home defense?
That's what makes me think.
How many people carry 320s? It's a common gun to carry.
But that's what makes me think. And if I promise you, if you look into those numbers, the vast majority of those 80 are cops. I'm almost positive the vast majority of them are going to be cops.
Well, and I look at it the same way, the way you look at guns, the same way I look at martial arts with cops. There is nothing that drives me more fucking crazy than cops that don't know how to defend themselves and have zero knowledge of grappling and get into exchange with someone and then they're on their back and they don't know what to do. Like, how did you sign up for this without a rudimentary understanding, at least of grappling? You don't know what the fuck to do? How you're engaging with someone physically and you don't know how to control them? Are you hoping they listen?
If I was a cop, I'd be in it. Like my friend that taught me how to shoot, he's a fighter. He fights.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be part of
yeah.
the job, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things that Andrew Yang proposed, he was talking when he was running for president. He was like, I think that all cops should be at least purple belt level of jiu-jitsu. I'm like, preach.
Yeah.
Preach.
But realistically,
Right.
you get what I'm
Listen,
saying?
Purple belt's a
That's-
long fucking
It's
road,
a
Jack.
long road.
That's a long road,
Yeah.
Jack.
And we can barely get enough cops now as it is.
Just to not be fat. right? How many cops you see are just morbidly
Which I think
obese?
is insanity.
It's insanity.
Yeah,
like literally part of your tools for your job is for you to be able to use your body to defend yourself and others and to be able to detain someone. Yeah. And you can't do it?
Couldn't be me. I would be in the. I just because I'm like at any moment you could be getting shot at, bro.
Yes,
at any moment.
Or someone would try to take your gun from you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if your gun is in your holster and your hands are on me, and you don't know how to fight, you're never getting to that gun. You're not going to get to that gun. How are you going to get to that gun?
You're not.
You don't have a chance in hell.
Nope.
I'm going to overhook that right arm, and that's a
It's
wrap.
a wrap.
That's a wrap. Now you're helpless.
And I learned that the first day I started doing.
Especially if you're wearing clothes. You're wearing clothes and someone has a good overhook and they fucking cinch that bitch down.
That's a wrap.
You ain't going nowhere. You're going nowhere. And then you get tripped and now you're on your back. And then some guy rotates so he can grab your gun and you can't even grab it.
Yeah. You better have a retention level 10 on that motherfucker.
And you better, yeah. That's an interesting thing, right?
Yeah.
The retention holsters where people have holsters that are, there's a very specific
way to get it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
That scares me in a high pressure situation.
Yeah.
too.
I mean, it's one of the things you can train to because the same thing can be said about 1911s because they have a safety.
Right.
Like,
but doesn't your thumb always go on there?
yes, that's the thing about 1911. So safeties on like polymer style guns aren't necessarily the
Where you
same
have
as
to
the
click
ones.
it? Yeah.
Because they're a lot smaller. They're not very intuitive.
And you gotta click. Yeah.
Like, with the 1911 generally speaking, if I were to draw the gun right now,
Your thumb's
I'm
on
naturally
it.
it's just already on
It's
it, so
on
it's
it.
gonna drop.
Yeah. It's on.
Whereas with polymer guns, you're kind of fishing for it. Like, where's this thing? Oh, there it goes. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, it's man, I'm trying to think because I remember I had a Beretta. I was doing a shooting course, training house, and one of the scenarios was I was supposed to clear this house, and they gave me a Beretta, and I had a safety on it, and I remember going to clearing through the house, and then it was a blue gun. It functioned like a gun, but it didn't shoot bullets, and guy popped around the corner. I was like, oh, pulled the gun wouldn't go off. I forgot to take the safety off.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
Well, that's what training's for.
exactly. So same thing with the retention holsters.
Right.
Like you want to train.
How does a retention holster work
So
exactly?
there are different levels, right? So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, level 4, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, right? So like the lowest amount is just you have a gun in a holster, right? And you literally turn it upside down, it'll fall out. Then you have the kind of like the Kydex holsters where you put it in, you hear that click, that kind of like click. So all you need is just a good tug and it comes out. Then you have other ones where when you come down on the holster, there's a button because there's like a little thing that goes over the back end of the gun. So even if you pull it out, it's not coming out.
Right.
And so when you come down on the holster, you push the button and it flips out of the way so that you can pull the gun out. And then I think there's another level that's even more than that. It's like there's like the little ring on it, and there's like a hood, and you got to remove that. And they're designed where if the gun's on you, it's one motion. But if it's a gun that's not on you, you're going to be in such an angle. You're going to have a hard time getting to that button to that thing to be able to get the gun out.
Right.
And so, and like I said, they start at like level 1 all the way up to like level 4. And anybody can get them. You can go to a store and get them.
Right.
And so like if I open carried, I don't open carry generally. I don't actually really open carry at all. The only time I've ever open carried is like when I'm like out, like in like the country or something like that. Or like rural, like some rural environment. But generally speaking, if I were to open carry, I would have at least like a level 3, level 4 retention holster because I've seen too many videos. I've done too many videos on people who are like in a gas station and they're open carrying, and then somebody comes up behind them, grabs a gun, and runs.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I saw a guy at a convenience store in a video. A guy had it in his lower back.
Yeah.
The guy snatched his gun, just ran out the door.
Yep. And that,
You
but that
can't even chase him.
can't do shit. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Give me back my gun. Like,
Yeah, unless you have one on your ankle, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And and it's one of those things, and that's a hotly contested debate in the gun space. Should you or should you not open carry? What are the benefits and what are the drawbacks? Because the one mindset says, if you open carry, you're going to be the first target for a criminal. But then another person comes up and says, if you open carry, you're going to be the last target because criminals are like, I want a weak target. I don't want somebody who already has a gun. I see he has a gun. I'm going to find somebody else.
Especially if they have situational awareness.
Exactly. And that is, and it's so easy to say because situational awareness can get you out of a lot of shit where you never even have to go to your gun.
Yeah.
It really can. Like I had a situation where I was followed or dudes were trying to rob me.
You told me about that.
Yeah. And I really believe, if not for my situational awareness, I call it paranoia.
Sometimes paranoia will help.
Oh, I do not discount my paranoia. I accept it full. Because when I'm right, it's my best friend.
Well, it's also, crime is reality.
Yeah.
And the idea that you won't come across crime because you're a good person, that's nuts. You zig when you should have zagged, and you're around the wrong people.
Because if I didn't pick them up, they would have caught me slipping. Because I would have been doop.
Yeah.
Been a wrap. And it wouldn't be nothing I can do about it. I could have had 15 guns on me. Wouldn't have mattered. Wouldn't have mattered at all. The thing that sucks, though, is in the moment for someone like me, it just goes to show you, and this is pretty pervasive in all the guys in the gun community, in that moment when they were chasing me, the whole time I'm thinking through, not only I want to get out of this situation alive, I'm literally thinking, what are the legal ramifications for every action I might engage in?
Right.
And so, because I know the standard of responsibility for me is exceedingly higher.
Right.
Because one, I'm a known gun guy, but purely just me having a concealed carry. My burden of responsibility is 10 times higher, even that of the criminal. Right. Because you should have known you're a concealed carrier. Right. So there's so many things that, like, when you are a concealed carrier, someone who just carries a gun, you are already behind the 8 ball. All a criminal has to do is wake up and decide, I'm going to go engage in some criminal shit. I'm going to find somebody, I'm going to attack them. They know exactly what they're going to do. They know exactly what they're going to bring. I'm just living my life. And I have to react to this. So not only do I have to react to the fact that somebody may try to rob me, I have to be thinking about at what point will I be justified in even using my firearm to protect myself? Right. Because at that time when I was in the car and they were following me, chasing me in the car, yeah, technically they were chasing me, but I couldn't stick my gun out the window and start shooting. Right. Because they hadn't technically broke a law yet. They haven't done anything to justify me shooting. They could have just been chasing me just to have fun. Right. I don't know. And so I have to think about those things as a legal, responsible gun owner. Criminals don't. Right. So it always pisses me off that these politicians make laws that make it even harder for legal gun owners to exercise that right. Like, these laws don't do anything but make it harder for us because we obey laws.
Like, what law specifically?
Like, just even the process of acquiring a firearm. Like, first of all, like in California, why would you limit my round count to 10 rounds? Yeah. Like, you're making that harder for me. If I'm being chased in a vehicle, I don't know how many people are in that car. Generally speaking, when criminals are engaging in criminal activity, it's not by themselves. Right. There's multiple. I'm largely going to be by myself dealing with multiple people.
Yeah, what is the logic to limiting round capacities?
It's purely based on mass shootings. They figure the less rounds you have in a gun, the less people die. That's what they think, because they see every mass shooter that they see, they say, oh, they have this 30-round magazine, which is the standard capacity for a lot of these guns. It's because they had so many bullets that they were able to kill so many people. That's not true. Generally speaking, when you have a high body count in a mass shooting, it is the context and the circumstance of the shooting that cause it.
Well, wasn't the Virginia Tech one of the most horrific mass shootings?
Yes.
And the guy had
36 people. He killed 36
with
people
pistols.
With pistols, right? And then they'll go on and say,
he just kept reloading.
Yeah, that's all he did. But the thing is, what made him so deadly, what people don't talk about, is he chained the doors. He chained them. So he had free reign of that school for who knows how long. And so all those people can do is hide in corners. And he literally walked in classrooms, just start picking people off. Where were they going to go? Right. Right? He's the only one with guns. He just starts shooting people one by one. And the cops who were outside trying to they can't get in the building because he chain locked the door. So it wasn't the fact that he had a 30-round magazine in his gun. It was the fact that he chained the door and nobody can get in to stop him. Right. Right? And then those were with handguns. Yeah. But they talk about, it's these deadly assault rifles and so forth and so on.
Did you see those ladies on The View talking about ARs, like hunting a deer with an AR? There's not going to be anything left of it.
Some people shouldn't just be part of the conversation.
But imagine having that conversation and being that ignorant openly and not even understanding that 226 is not even.
It's that you can barely hunt ethically a deer with a 223 round.
Yeah, it's 223 or 556. Yeah, they're not big rounds.
They're not at all. They're actually really small.
Yeah,
that's the crazy thing.
That's what's
They're
crazy.
Actually really
like,
small.
Somehow or another, they think you're shooting a cannon.
No.
It's so dumb.
But it's ignorance.
Right.
And I wouldn't have a problem with it if they were open to having a conversation honestly.
Well, they're pushing a narrative that is based entirely on ignorance.
Yeah, but that's mainstream media for you.
Yeah,
I've been dealing with it for 10 plus years. That when it comes to the conversation about firearms in this country, that is the mainstream media narrative, and it doesn't change.
And it's also the idea that you wouldn't hunt with one. Listen, hunting with one, especially in a 308, an AR and a 308, it's a good ethical move because you need a follow-up shot sometimes, and you don't have to go. You don't have to reload it.
Exactly.
Like, there's a lot of people in the hunting space that don't like semi-automatic weapons for hunting, but I'm like, why?
It's the dumbest thing to me.
If you want to shoot an animal ethically, having the ability for a follow-up shot instantaneously is a benefit to ethics.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they grew up with those hunting guns and are not comfortable with semi-automatics because they don't really know about them very much.
Yeah.
And so they're like, nobody needs that. Like,
well, there's the two groups, right? The Fuds. Yeah, which Elmer Fudd, the hunters, and then people who are gun fanatics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, it's, like I said, I wouldn't have a problem with the ignorance if they were willing to have the conversation, right? At least be open to, say, having someone like me or somebody else from the space to come on. But usually when they have the conversations, they're just
they yell at you and talk over you.
They're just chicken balking amongst each other and they're not really getting anywhere.
They don't know what they're talking about, and on top of that, they demonize anybody that has a differing perspective, and they won't have an actual good faith conversation about it. And if they did, they would find out that they're solely uninformed. Yeah. And they're unwilling to accept the narrative that some people do save people's lives with guns.
A ton of people, to the tune of 1.63 million every year, people use a gun in self-defense. Nobody talks about that.
Yeah,
nobody. They talk about the 40,000 people who die every year from gun violence. But even when you break those numbers down.
Yeah, well, also the mass shooting numbers are severely distorted too because people don't understand most of these mass shootings are gang violence.
Dude, I did a video where I remember I forgot the actual shooting. There was a mass shooting, a legit one, a legit mass shooting. It was like a couple weeks ago, and it's about 3 weeks ago. And they were saying, and the report was there have been 5 mass shootings since 2024. We're only a week into 2000. I think we were only like 4 days into 2024, and they was like, there have already been 5 mass shootings. So I said, that don't sound right. If there were 5 mass shootings within 5 days of 2024, I'd know about it. So I was like, okay. So it was a CNN article. So I go and I look at the hyperlink that they used to quote that stat, and it was like gun violence archive or something like that. So I click it. And so they list the 5 incidents. So I was like, all right. The problem is they don't expect people to go 3-4 layers deep into the rabbit hole.
Right.
They expect that you just see the link there. Oh, that solidifies it. That I don't even need to look at what the actual incidents were. Right. That they're correct. So I click it and I go to the first incident. It was like a drive-by. I go to the second incident. It was a fight at a party. Next incident, drive-by. Next incident, New Year's Eve party, L.A. Drive-by. No, a dispute between two group of people, and then turned out and it was a shooting, basically street shit. The only one that was actually the mass shooting, like a legit mass shooting, was the one that the initial article was about. So basically what they did is they took 4 of these street violence shootings and then clustered them in and called them mass shootings.
Right. And by the way, you're never going to stop street violence until you stop disparaged communities. You're never going to stop street violence until, I mean, I've said this so many times, but I'll say it one more time. Think about the money we've sent to Ukraine. And imagine if they put that money into cleaning up inner cities and making them safer. And
do people really think that motherfucking kids who grow up in these environments really want to live like that.
Exactly.
Like they really want to live their life looking over their shoulder.
Exactly.
And having to worry about who's trying to kill them, what type of, do they really think people want to live like that? Come on.
It's a convenient narrative.
Like,
It's a convenient narrative, and it's also like they do nothing to fix those spots.
nothing.
Nothing.
And who are those places run by?
Democrats.
And
All of them.
I hate the fact that I even have to say it.
It's so true.
But the only reason I say it is because when I look at who is pushing the narrative for gun control, it is always a Democrat. Always.
Yeah.
Which is fine, okay? If that's the way the party wants to lean, cool. But what I have a problem with is when the vast majority of gun murders in this country are coming from inner cities that are all ran by Democrats. That's where I have a problem, because you're pushing legislation, you're pushing policies that do nothing to address the root cause of the issue. You're literally using the deplorable conditions in these environments to justify more gun control policies that will do nothing to fix these environments but give you more control over people.
And put responsible gun owners in danger.
Exactly. Or turn us into criminals.
Right.
Because you're making
Even
such
worse.
convoluted laws. Nobody
Right.
knows shit. You know how many people call and ask me, I'm going to this state. I'm going to California. Can I carry this? Can I bring this? Can I do? It's so convoluted and all over the place. Nobody knows how to not break the laws when it comes
Right.
to guns. So it begs the question, are you trying to create criminals?
Right.
Because that's what it seems like. Because you're clearly not trying to stop any of it, because you have an entire environment over here that has the same consistent problem. It's not like the inner city in like Chicago is so different from like the inner city in like Louisiana.
Right.
It's the same shit, the same problems. So if we understand that, and they're happening in these very specific areas, why the fuck are we still talking about gun control? Why? There are so many people there are so many people who have more guns than food, who live in other places in this country, and they don't have this gun violence problem. They don't. When's the last time you saw a black dude who lived in the suburbs doing drive-bys in a BMW?
Right.
You don't see it.
Right.
So that tells you there's a totally different issue here that's going on, and you're not willing to address it. And if you're not going to address the real issue, shut the fuck up about guns, because you don't care. And you have a totally different motivation for why you're pushing it. And it has nothing to do with actually saving lives.
Right. It has to do with a narrative that your ideology accepts openly, which is that guns are the problem.
Yep. And that's it.
And it's a childish perspective.
Exceedingly childish.
Yeah.
And it's not only childish, it's getting people killed. Because at the end of the day, that violence has to go somewhere. It has to. You can only rob the people in the environment that you're in for so long before you have to start spreading out. So now what's ended up happening is you have people who are now forced to confront this type of violence without any means to protect themselves. So your policies are actually hurting people and causing more lives to be taken. So as far as I'm concerned, anything they have to say about the issue until they're willing to talk about the root cause of the issue is bullshit.
You couldn't have said it better. It's as good as anyone can say it. I think it's a good way to wrap this up, because I think that narrative is not being discussed openly, and I think it's logical, and I think you're dead right, and I think the root cause of it is these crime-infested, gang-infested neighborhoods where people don't have hope. And
everybody wants to ignore it and just say,
Yes.
"Oh, well, that's just the culture. It's the environment." Yes, maybe, but there's a reason why that culture started in the first place.
Yes.
And so until we understand what's driving it, if we're really just like, hey, we just don't give a fuck, then say that. Then at least we know we're on that level. We understand that. You just don't give a fuck. We can let them kill themselves off. Fuck them. But if your job is really wanting to save lives and really wanting to minimize the amount of gun violence in this country, if you're not willing to have that conversation honestly, you're full of shit. You're full of shit.
Preach. Thank you, brother.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
you being on here always. I appreciate your perspective, and I think it's important to get your side of things out there, because it's logical, it's educated, you know what the fuck you're talking about, and you don't hear it.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear.
It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Well, thanks for providing it.
Appreciate you. Thanks for giving me your platform.
Always, anytime. Thank you. Bye, everybody.